This video brought to you by our frequent flyer subscribers. If you would like to support the channel, please consider joining our frequent flyer program at twitch.tv/NovaWing24.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, folks of Orbx Potions. Welcome, folks, to a very special Saturday night edition of the. I don't know. Normally, this is. I said I'm a bit of a tongue-tied tonight because normally this is our community flight Saturdays, and of course we are still going to be flying as a community, but we have a very special event happening on this particular Saturday because this has unexpectedly become part of our Developer Delights series of videos that we produce here every now and again. Well, not really produce. Produce is the wrong word because let's be honest here, it's all off the cuff. But it's going to be a special evening tonight because we're going to be joined by a very special friend of the channel to talk all things Orbx tonight. So looking forward to that, folks. I hope you are as much as I am as well. But first of all, hello and welcome everybody. Strayator, hello and welcome. And yes, thank you so much. G'day to you, and grateful to see that your poet laureate skills are still going here. And First Officer Fluff is here, and apparently I am getting, I'm assuming that was the First Officer Fluff's version of a salute. The fact that he did it with claws out was slightly disturbing, but anyway. Rockview 101, hello and welcome to the stream. It's good to see you. Tech Marte, Master Braytech, hello and welcome. Mr. Belgeode, hello and welcome to the stream. Yes, grab your coffee, sit back, relax, enjoy the stream. Hope you're going to have a wonderful night here. Austin is, well, we've talked about this before because let's be honest, is that as much as I like to pretend this stream is all about me, let's be honest, it's not. It's all about this furry little monster here, isn't it? Anyway, hello back at Kragus, good morning to you. Welcome to the stream. Dread Midas, hello and welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing fantastically well. I anticipate you're going to be looking forward to chatting with our wonderful guest that we're going to be introducing very shortly. Looking forward to seeing what questions you've got for them tonight, Dread Midas. Dutch Sim, hello and welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing fantastically well. Master Braytech, you, sir, have been a absolute wonder and blessing to our community, and that is a recognition of you and all the effort that you put in for every member of our community, because that's what we're all about here, folks, is that remember what we are trying to do, or at least what I'm trying to do here, is that I'm trying to be able to create a welcoming and a positive environment for simmers of all experiences and all levels of experience and engagement and things they want to achieve in their flight simulation journey. To be able to have a welcoming and positive environment where it is they are able and you are able to explore this amazing unlimited world that we've been blessed with flight simulation tools, whether it be Microsoft Flight Sim, whether it be X-Plane, whether it be Aerofly FS2. Well, Aerofly, that's a bit more limited, but another conversation. And to be able to share their experience, your experiences, and to be able to create new adventures and stories for each other. So, and I wanted to recognize you and everything that you do for that one. So there you go. Anyway, hello. Sten9054, hello and welcome. Good evening to you from the colonies. I hope you're doing fantastically well. Yes, absolutely, Belgian. It is all about the kitty. It is absolutely all about the kitty. Dreadminus, if you ever didn't have questions, my friend, I would be wondering what has happened, and I'd be questioning that, I hope, and thinking something had gone horribly wrong. Wow, okay, PMGG is releasing it only at $70. Wow, okay, there you go. Yeah, that's interesting. I was expecting their price point to be probably double or triple that. So that's interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, okay, does that basically make the people who'd got that 737 for prepared, what was basically a glorified patch, does that mean they're going to get it for free? I think it does. There you go. Yeah, exactly, right. It really does. It absolutely, Stan. Kitties do rule. They 100% do. Particularly this guy, even though you can't see him at the moment because it's covered by my screen. Anyway. All right, folks. So as I said, we are here for a very special stream here tonight. As I said, we changed our plans rather unexpectedly at the last minute, as we. I have suddenly was blessed with the opportunity to be able to bring a very special guest who has who's come and spent time with us previously. In fact, we were just reminiscing it off stream that the last time that this special guest was here was actually just after launch day. Was not long after launch day where we got to show off Orcas Island, Friday Harbour, and we got to discuss the challenges that Orbx had faced with in the aftermath of the release of their London Landmarks pack. So I hope that you'll be able to give a huge welcome to Ellise. Ellise, welcome once again to I was about to say a Nova app, but it's not a Nova app this time. I don't even have a really name for that, but welcome to Developer Delights.
Thank you, Tristan. Great to be here. How are you doing?
I'm freezing my balls off, but thank you for asking.
But it's lovely and hot here where I'm in England, so yeah.
See
I'm
that
jealous.
You totally are making me jealous, because I remember the last time I was actually in the UK, it was back in 2011, 2012, when you had that beautiful long hot summer.
Yeah.
And it was like it was the most Australian weather I think the UK had ever had.
And I think that is due for that this week as well. So I'm hoping, because the sunlight is streaming behind me, so hopefully it won't interfere my track IR, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And funny enough, I remember that was the issue last time you were on the stream.
That was the issue, absolutely, exactly, last time, yeah.
All right, well, welcome, Ellise. It's so great to have you on board. And of course, we are going to be here, not only are we here to answer your questions, viewers, for about anything. So if you have anything that you'd like to have asked to Ellise, please feel free to type it in the chat, and we'll endeavour to ask and get your questions answered. But also, we're going to be showcasing a really special product which has just been released, I do believe. So I'm going to bring it up in my hangar view. If you would like to talk us through this beautiful aeroplane.
Yeah, beautiful is a very choice word. It's a very unique aircraft. Let's put it that way, I think. So welcome everyone to the EA-7 Edgley Optica. One of the first things that we had was, why did we choose the Optica? It's a very weird and unique aircraft, and it's something that we were looking at. We kind of had a list of 50 aircraft we were looking to develop, and we whittled that right the way down. And what's the best aircraft to start with for an Orbx product? And obviously Orbx, we're synonymous for product quality and level of detail, and with aircraft you absolutely need that, especially when you're sitting in a cockpit. And I've been flying sims for 25 plus years now, so for me it has to be something that's unique, and it has to be something that's very real looking.
I mean, unique. You could not have picked anything more unique. Let's be honest here. You could not have.
Yeah, it's slightly unique. I mean, the reason why we chose it is obviously the view, because it's absolutely stunning. The Edgley, or the Optica, is based on an Alouette helicopter. So it was actually very funny, because the first screenshot I showed to Sergio, he was like, "Oh my God, you're doing a helicopter! You're doing a helicopter!" And I was like, "Have a look a little closer." I was like, "There's no collective. What's going on? What's happening?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's really not." And then zoomed out, and he's like, "Oh my God, what is that thing?" But the beauty is obviously the view. It's 270 degrees panoramic view right the way around. And I'm looking up right now and I can see the moon, and I'm looking down and almost see where my feet are and the tarmac. So that's why we chose it.
I mean, that's really interesting. It's funny that you mentioned it being based on the Alouette helicopter. I actually didn't realize that. I'd always known that it struck me looking like the front of an Alouette 3 and going, "Oh, it reminds me of that." And it was funny actually that why I didn't click with it, because I did test fly earlier today, and I really looked at it and went, I feel like I'm sitting here with a set of controls for like a Bell 407, because they actually look like helicopter controls, just without, and just I've got my parking brake and my brakes where the cyclic would be.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's the thing with this is that there are no toe brakes as well, because even if you look at the pedals, there's no toe brakes at all. So it's the parking brake is basically as you're taxiing out, you pull that handle up to apply the toe brakes, or the toe brakes, but you apply that handle up to apply the brake. So that was new for me because I said to the modeler, "Where's the toe brakes?" And he's like, "It doesn't have one." I was like, "This really is a helicopter with wings," and that's I think the design of this. It's it was basically it's an observation aircraft. And you can't get a better aircraft for looking at things, especially in Microsoft Flight Sim, than the Optica. It's just absolutely amazing for it.
I guess that's probably the first question that I probably we've got a couple of questions coming through from the audience already.
Yeah.
I guess the first question that I've sort of have is that and it's funny actually that Els that Orbx has brought out an aircraft, because it was only in the recent Grumpy Simbers episode where we actually talked about the hazards and the dangers of when you see a developer that's very specialized in one particular field suddenly releasing a product and sort of pivoting to a very different field. So when I saw that it was that when you sort of first made the announcement a few months ago that Orbx was bringing the Edgley Optica to it, it was sort of like, okay, who is actually bringing it to us? Is it Orbx? And then when I got a chance to talk to you about it, it was like, no, you're actually bringing it here. I guess the burning question for me, and I know a few people that I've talked about pre-stream, is that why is Orbx, who's known for amazing quality scenery, making this pivot to aircraft development?
Part of my job, so my job role is business development manager. So I was brought on at Orbx with Anna and John to basically look at what we do as a business and how can we expand that, what can we do outside of what is our typical norm. Because obviously, we're one of the industry leaders for the scenery side of things, but what else can we do? And that's not just particularly for flight sim, that's outside of flight sim as well. My background, as some people may know, I've developed aircraft in the past as various different sims. I've developed RAF training platforms. I've developed things in Unreal. So it's really kind of looking at what our core skill set is and how can we capitalize on that and how can we expand that. And more importantly, how can we upskill our team that we have based around the world, not just in Havant in the UK. Because just making airports every single day, people will get bored of that. So what else can we do that, one particular person may say, I've really had enough of developing airports. What else is there that I can do? Because obviously staff retention is a massive thing. And especially during COVID, it's been extremely difficult, as you can imagine. Having 20 artists sitting in an office to then all be working at home for over 14 months now, I guess. How do you keep that momentum going? So part of my role was, how do we expand the business? What do we do outside of this? And obviously aircraft is very close and dear to my heart, but also other things as well. And we'll talk about the Nvidia project a little bit later on. So for me, it was an easy, natural transition to look at aircraft and say, we have the skill sets to be able to do the modeling, the textures. We know enough people in the industry to help us and bring on board that can help us do flight modeling and systems modeling and the other bits that the Orbx core team may not have, but we can upskill people to learn how to do. So, one of the big things to get across to the people watching the stream is that it's a whole separate team. The people that are currently working on the scenery are carrying on working on the scenery. There's no distraction from any current roadmaps. And we recently announced our product roadmap, and there's some amazing products coming out in the future. And the aircraft development sits alongside those. We're upskilling our existing team. We're bringing in new staff as we work on more projects. And it's not just projects for Orbx. And we are actually developing other projects for clients directly, which is something that Orbx typically haven't done. So we've got external partners in, and Nvidia is the perfect example of that one. They approached us and said, we're doing Computex and we're doing it on the 2nd of June. We'd like you to make Taipei for us. And that was amazing because
I can imagine that phone call. I was going to say, you had 10 days. It's like, what?
It was actually 7 development days to do 18 POIs. So the email came through, and I kind of sat there. I read the email. I went, "Wait, what? Like this is middle of May, and you want it 2nd of June? Yeah, sure, we can do that." So that was a massive team effort to mobilize and to cloud staff and to basically in a very rapid short space of time expand the team to be able to carry on doing our typical product development, which, as you've seen, products are still coming out. Nothing's been delayed, even from Optica or from Taipei. But actually upskilling people and expanding the team very rapidly to then develop this project. And we've got a lot more lined up, not just Nvidia Taipei, but there's a lot more. My role is basically to expand the business without affecting the core product of the business, and that's fundamental to me. I've seen it so many times where businesses expand and product quality goes down and product production goes down because focus is elsewhere, and that's key to me. That does not happen. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a really reassuring thing to hear. I think that definitely acknowledge that I mean, staff retention is a challenge, and of course we're all having to adapt to different ways of working and existing and flying that we do now. So yeah, it's really great, and I guess in many ways though, and sort of harking back to this aircraft as we enjoy these amazing cinematic shots of it, is the nose of it is perfect for looking at the great scenery of Microsoft Flight Sim, and of course Orbx's rest of its core range as well. Let's have I was going to say a quick shout out because it looks like that all the discussions about helicopters has summoned the man himself, the helicopter man himself, Sergio from Heli7.com. Hello and welcome, Sergio. It's great to see you. Great to welcome on board. And Plastic Man, Alouette, hello and welcome to you as well. Game Vash Oz, I didn't say hello to you either, but welcome to that. And you're getting high praise from Purple Hat wearing aviator Belgeode as well. That he's vouching for its visibility in VR, which I know is a big thing for a lot of MSFS users. So
it's amazing in VR, absolutely amazing in VR.
Oh, yes. What we're going to do is, so I might quickly, now that we've had these amazing views, we might actually go for a fly in this aircraft now, I think. So let's have a look at this. So let's load in. So I'm going to go back here. And so, folks, we do have some. So, for those I said, folks, this is our normal community group flight night. So, if anybody is welcome to anybody and everybody is welcome to join us tonight. We just won't be just the voice is going to be just for Els and myself tonight. However, everybody is more than welcome to join one of our other voice channels in our Discord, and also the flight plans that we'll be using tonight have all been published in our community Discord. So, if you are wanting to join us, you're welcome to join us in the Optica. If you have it. If you don't have it, no problems at all. Grab an aircraft that's comfortable flying at less than 100 knots because the Optica is not fast.
I want to see a 787 on my wing doing 80 knots with full flaps, gear down, trying to keep up with us.
Calling Razor Flies, who I saw in the channel earlier. Hello and welcome, my friend. Calling Razor, the challenge has been accepted.
Yeah, we've got to get that on the stream. I do a very quick shout out to a couple of people that I know are watching. So Sten 1954 and P-Man, who are avid supporters of mine, good friends of mine, and excuse me, they've had to put up with me late nights. It's like, let's go flying. It's like, I can't. I've got to test Optica. Let's go do some golf. I can't. I've got to test Optica. They put up with me for quite a few months now of not being able to do stuff with them because of this product. So.
Oh, well, that is great. Yes, we always have to acknowledge all the wonderful people that help support us in craziness. And I am always incredibly grateful to each and every one of them as the community here, and my long-suffering partner, who's always like, she just wants some time to me, looking through a computer screen at me, and it's like, yeah, sorry, I need to fly, I need to do this ready, I need to get this ready for this, and it's like, sorry about that. So hello and welcome everybody who's been supporting Els and works for the team for this one. That's true, Ellise. You did, didn't you? You landed the F-18 on the Burj Arab. Now, see, you need to. I feel like okay. So here's the question: does anybody know if that POI has a hard helipad in MSFS? Because it does. If it does,
I think it does.
Oh, that'll be funny. Okay, let's pick a ramp because I've been caught out with this before. So let's go with one of the small ramps. Ramp 5, there we go. Okay.
I'm on 2, so
You're
we'll
on
see
2.
what
Okay,
happens.
so I won't do 2. I'll choose
Yeah.
5. Let's try that one. Okay, so
Okay.
we are going to we'll do live traffic, live weather, but we will change it to daylight so we can see. So let's wind the time back to just before. Actually, you know what? Let's do a just before sunset flight. Let's do that.
Oh, that will look amazing.
I'm hoping it will because a lot of my
Yeah.
screenshots that I took for my RFDS livery packs were all taken sort of around either dawn or dusk here over Uluru. It looks
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. It really, really does.
The
Um,
beauty of one of the things that we've done, obviously with I mean, not particularly for sunsets, but actually, you'll notice it as soon as you start flying. You'll notice kind of the fingerprints on the
I I
canopy,
did see
and
that. So I saw the
yeah,
fingerprints
yeah.
on when I first looked at it in the because the PBR shows up really, really well
Oh yeah.
in the hangar view, and I saw the actual handprints too. They're not just like marks; they're actual
Oh,
handprints. Like
the actual
that's cool.
handprints, yeah, yeah.
That
It's like
was
when you're
so
reaching
cool.
down to open and close the door, then there's handprints, and you go to tweak the altitude adjustment. There's a fingerprint right next to that. So I mean that's the thing with this is, yeah, a lot of people have kind of asked that question. I'm sure your audience are asking the question as well. Why? Yeah, we've released an Optica and there's a freeware one. So what's the huge differences? And the guys that have done the freeware one have done an absolute amazing job with that.
Mhm.
I like to think ours is better, and I will never bash anybody else's product because I know how hard it is to produce something. And I get this question a lot. It's like, what's the? I said, all you need to do is put it on a ramp, set the sunset. Literally, the way I'm facing right now, the sun's coming through my canopy. I look down at our leather seats, and I just go, well, there's the reason.
Yeah.
It's just another for me. It's just another level. This is an Orbx product. The attention to detail is just absolutely amazing. The team have done just for our first aircraft. The team have really knocked this out of the park. It's stunning, absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm actually just doing that here because it's that sunset for me at the moment. And I'm sort of just showing this off now, like complete with the handprints. Like this is just
Yeah,
as you said, it's a whole nother level. And thanks for sort of introducing that as well because it is a good question that comes up a lot. I know I remember actually back to it's funny actually because I actually remember that conversation from FSX days and A2A
hmm
and Scott Gentile at A2A when everybody said to him, "Why are you making a Cub? There already
yeah,
is a J3 Cub in the sim. Why are you making a new one?" And that's a really good way of putting it, and saying it's a whole nother level of doing that
yeah,
simulation, that effectiveness there. Um,
yeah. I mean, for us, I mean, for me. I've been a virtual pilot, and I hate to count how many years it is, but 25 plus years now, so since 1989. And for me, it's about the visuals. I'm a GA flyer. I'm really enjoying the biz jets right now. I fly the Citation a hell of a lot,
mhm.
but I jumped into the CRJ and I can't be bothered to program the FMC, and that's a personal choice. There are people out there that absolutely love that level of realism, and for me, it's the visuals. And I want to be able to sit in an aircraft and enjoy looking around the cockpit and enjoy my experience in that aircraft, and also the flight experience. We have the full ballast system built into the aircraft. So if people put two people into the cockpit, it will be out of balance and the warning lights will come up and you will have a hard time flying it.
Well, I was
You
actually
put
going to say,
three people into
I was
that.
going to say, I'm going to cut you off there because actually, you know what? Let's do that live on air, shall we? So
Yeah,
let's actually
yeah,
add in. So as probably you may have noticed, folks, in that when we're looking at the external view, unlike what you see with all the default aircraft and pretty much I think every other two, like more than one sort of pilot co-pilot position aircraft that I've seen from even third-party devs, there's always a pilot and co-pilot. Um,
yeah,
Here, however, we don't. So as you saw, you loaded in that it is just little old me sitting in the pilot seat. So I'm assuming it's just the default weight here, else just 170 pounds.
yeah. 170 pounds. Yeah. So as soon as you put 100, what I suggest, if you're in the weights and balances tab, actually, first thing to do is get some external ground power on, because then you need the warning lights to come on.
Right. Okay. So let me take the Copilot out then.
Yeah.
And then let's jump into that external ground power. So there we are. So we've got our external power supply.
Okay.
Systems powering up. There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
But as soon as you do that, you should start hearing gyros spinning up, and
Yep.
there are a couple of issues with sounds we found with literally Sim Update 4. Is the switches for some reason aren't working? The sounds. I mean, everything has been coded, all the sounds are there, but Sim Update 4 has broken a few things we just need to jump onto. So there are a couple of little bugs like that.
Okay.
But the team are on it straight away.
Excellent. Okay, so we've added our Copilot in the middle seat there, which is always good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me jump inside now, and if I have a look, I should see some
warning lights.
Let's have a look. I don't actually, funnily enough. Well, that's all good.
Okay, that is
hang
all good.
on. So I should have my ballast position indicators up the top there. Oh, well, actually, we'll reset. Yeah.
So if you dragged out the weights and balances screen, so you can see the aircraft view.
I have not. So I've got so I haven't dragged it out so I can see the aircraft view. Okay, let me drag that out.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so I've got position 36. So it's still, I'm still within my weights at the moment.
Oh, you're still within your weights. Okay.
That's why it hasn't. Because it's already got trim weight in there. So let's take that trim weight out.
Yeah. So if you're a single pilot, it should be 33 pounds on the nose.
Yep.
If it's I'm literally typing 170 here. So for a pilot and a co-pilot, it should be £0 in the foreweight and £0 in the aft weight.
Yep.
And if you have 3 passengers, you put £33 in aft weight, essentially.
Okay. So if I put in, so at the moment, so I've got pilot and co-pilot 170 pounds. If I was to put in, say, 55 pounds in the, there they go. Yep.
There we go.
Now I've got the ballast indicator lights going on there. Right.
Warning lights are out. Okay.
Because I can show that I'm out of center of gravity. So that's actually great that your ballast system is actually sort of showing there as well, which is really good. And there's a nice, neat little placard there as well that helps explain it, which is as is featured in the real aircraft as well. I'm just highlighting that to everybody here at the moment. Yeah,
typically, I mean, in the real aircraft, you put ballast on the wings. The sim doesn't allow us to do that. We can only do aft and fore weights. Right. So we've just adjusted it that you do fore and aft weights. Essentially, you can't put weights on wings.
Cool. Okay, that's fair enough. Would you?
Okay.
It's one of those challenges of that.
I've just seen a Dreamliner spawn in, so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Welcome, Razor, to that one as well. Hello and welcome. Sorry, I'm just quickly just catching up on the chat here at the moment there. So, exactly, Sergio. Yeah, kudos to the texture artist. The texture artist did amazing work, especially with that all the little elements here. Like I think I can see some substance painter, especially with all the materials, like that worn look of the cockpit here at the moment. Because of course these aircraft are not new at the moment, are they? They are they're starting to get a bit long in the tooth, aren't they? Though I did hear that the production line's reopening soon.
I heard that as well. Yeah, I mean the aircraft actually, the production began when I was 1 year old in 1974. So it's as old as me, basically, which is fantastic to think about. Not, but basically, the design started and kind of began 1974, and then in '79 they had the maiden flight of the first one, and then basically from that point right up, I think 82, 83, it kind of took 3-4 years to produce the actual aircraft and get it out there. And even things like the British police here, they had an Optica, they tried it out as an observation platform because of the 8 hours loitering time. So if you could just be flying around over a particular event or a particular, parade or something in a city, and you're up in the air for 8 hours without having to come down again, it just, it's just affordable to do that. And that's the real purpose for this aircraft, is the visibility. So the pilot's obviously on the left, and then the right hand seats you've got a co-pilot and also an observer. There were a few accidents with this because it was a tricky aircraft to fly, especially if it starts stalling. Then it's very tricky to actually recover from that stall. In sim, it's relatively easy because Microsoft handle that. We can't actually change any of the stall characteristics yet.
Okay.
That's something that is supposed to be coming in an update, but right now all of the stall characteristics are default sim. So we can't change that unless we do an external flight model, which this isn't. It's a standard Microsoft flight model.
Right, okay. Just again, so just quickly catching up on the chat here. The Dread Miners, yeah, you're right. The free one would be a great place in multiplayer if we can get some intelligent. Yeah, we've all talked about that a lot there, Dread. CRJ. I was gonna say, Razor, is that this airport is big enough for a 787, I believe, because I know that Qantas has flown a couple out of here before.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so it's is that a good not as small as Microsoft in the back. Yeah, it's very true. Goal121, hello and welcome to the stream. You are looking at the Edgley EA-7 Optica, which has just been released from Orbx, that we're having putting a bit of a test flight through tonight. John's going to service in 74. Yeah, I know. I'm feeling a little bit old sometimes with these ones as well. I'm looking forward to seeing the F-14 in MSFS as well. I must admit, when we get carriers.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's see if we can get this aircraft started here. So I've just been quickly brought up the checklist, and again, I have to say again, and I suppose it's kind of that whole to what you were saying before, Els, about the level of quality that people expect from Orbx. But again, seeing a fully fleshed out checklist that also, by the way, folks, it's a full checklist as well, like everything from pre-flight all the way through to shut down, including all the levels in between. Like you've pretty much you've outdone yourself beyond what a Sobo do a lot of the time. So
I think this comes. Thank you. I mean, it comes to if I'm going to develop an aircraft, I want to fly that aircraft. So I won't want to develop something I won't want to fly. But if I'm going to fly it, I want to fly it as realistic as possibly I can. The citation and things, I fly as realistic as I can. That's why I don't fly the CRJ, because the FMCs don't interest me. But with this, if there's going to be checklists in the sim, make the checklist accurate, make them correct. And actually, there's a full quick reference manual that comes with the Optica. You can download on Orbx Central, and also it becomes it's in the community folder under reference and documents. And there's a 2-page QRC, so the quick reference card. You can actually print out, you can laminate, you can back to back, and then you have your checklist on your knee or on your lap or on your desk or wherever you want it to be. And it has to be, to me, accurate as if I'm going to fly the aircraft in the sim.
And I guess that's something that we've talked about here on the channel as well, is that that's where the sim can help with that as well, because you can make the aircraft accurate, and then the sim can then help users who might be more unfamiliar with the aircraft and want that bit of extra help to be able, if they're not familiar with their sim and they're just jumping into it for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's really why I've done a kind of a quick reference guide. So if this is the first add-on aircraft that somebody's bought, then yeah, amazing, thank you very much. But also, if you're not used to the sim, you need to know where to find the aircraft, how to select the liveries, what the liveries look like, how to change things. And then once you're in the aircraft, what do you actually do? And I find that lacking with quite a few third-party aircraft. They're thinking about the existing sim users and not anybody new coming into this. And
that is a big issue that I have, and exactly right, because I've noticed the same thing as well. Is that I have a lot of issue with that. I think that, to be fair though, I think that they kind of had to. That was out of their control, because I think that they observed what happened to, as we all know, they observed what happened to both Flight and to Flight Sim World. That because they didn't get the buy-in of the established simmer community, they couldn't then attract newcomers. So I think that, as challenging as it is, I think that I'm hoping that now they've reached a point where they can lean further into supporting new simmers rather than just the established simmer base. Now that the third-party developers like yourself are more comfortable, or getting more comfortable with the new sim.
Yeah, and that's the other thing to kind of point out with this is that Optica is fully Xbox compliant. We've built this based on the Xbox requirements that Microsoft have put out to us. So as soon as the Xbox launches, somebody downloads Optica in the marketplace for the Xbox. It's there, bam, it's working. I've done full test flying with an Xbox controller. We're not sure how the startup things and the clickable cockpit will work yet because I don't think those details have been released. However, once even a Control E, the aircraft will start, and then you can fully fly it with an Xbox controller, and that's been done on purpose.
And
we have to open up to that new marketplace.
That's really great to hear, and that's something that a conversation piece that I've had with a lot of established simmers as well, of going that it's not about, as much as it's about the existing user base, it's also not about the existing user base, and we have to be mindful of those who are new to the hobby and coming in for the first time, where this is the first aircraft. And I remember having a very animated discussion with several users over at flightsim.to about why I use installers for my liveries. And they said, oh, well, most users know how to install liveries. I said, yeah, but that's just it. Most, not all. Some people, and including myself, who do know how to install liveries, I'm happy with an installer. I just love Orbx Central, where I can simply go, okay, or the only decision I have to make with Orbx Central is, do I want to install directly in the sim, or do I want it in my Orbx library, and it references hyperlinks in. That's great. I love that. So I've got the aircraft started. I'm just starting to taxi, and of course, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that there's this very, very loud noise behind me.
A great big ducted fan right behind your head. Yes.
Which is I love how you actually sort of you capture that in many ways as well, with the fact that it is just so, like, I almost feel it vibrating through here. Like that's how it feels like it right now.
Yeah. There is a slight bug with that, because I will say it is not that loud in real life. It's like with the switches on the cockpit. We found literally, and this is the thing with testing, is the aircraft's actually been ready for a few months now. But we've had the bug with, as you saw, the ballast system, but we had a bug with the default center of gravity within the sim. And we were working with the Sobo literally a couple of weeks ago, just before SU4 came out, to fix that problem, fix the issue, or help fix the issue. But what we found now is a couple of the sounds things. So actually, the sound, when you open the doors, the sound doesn't change, whereas it should do. The engine shouldn't be that loud when you're sitting in the cockpit and it starts up. So our sound engineers on that, and we'll have a patch out as soon as we can to fix that one. So it shouldn't be as loud, but I also do like the feeling that kind of, you can imagine it vibrating your head.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of that, just it gives you that sort of real feeling here. And one of the things as well, as we do a taxi here, I'll sort of just show the viewers the basics of the cockpit. Is that the cockpit here, of course, is as you said, it was very much based off a helicopter. So it is a very basic setup. Yeah, it is. There's no autopilot here. There's no glass cockpit. This is, you fly it by hand.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, obviously the Garmin systems are there, so you can navigate. But it's old school. It's 1974 aircraft. The glass cockpits weren't around then. And to me, that's the beauty of flying something like this. I love all the modern stuff, but I also love the old school things as well. Warbirds particularly as well. It is, you feel like you're flying the aircraft. Not to say the other ones don't, but with this one, I find you really feel like you're flying it a lot more.
Exactly, and I think that's something I hear talked about from a lot of people who fly. Either fly a mix of aircraft types, or fly predominantly sort of GA kind of aircraft, or even sort of turboprops, is that there's the whole, you feel more connected with the aircraft, whereas and again, full respect to everybody who flies, for the larger airliners, larger greyhounds in the sky, and even myself who dabbles in biz jets from time to time. I don't feel as connected to those aircraft as I do when flying something like the Optica here, where I'm flying something that has no toe brakes, no autopilot, I can trim it out, but I'm still as our wonderful friend Oz Wookie from Big Radio Sims would say, hashtag fly the damn plane.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing with this is the beauty of this. I mean, I was chatting to a couple of people this morning that have been flying it since it was released last night, and they're saying, "Oh, I'm having troubles with landing." And I was like, "Okay, are you trimming in the aircraft at all?" And they're like, "No, not really." So
What's trim?
you don't yeah. Basically, it was like you never hand fly an aircraft down to land. The beauty of this is, and we'll do it as we're coming into land, is and my instructor on a couple of the lessons I've had is like trim. You drilled it into me, and as soon as I take off in a minute, I'll be trimming in the aircraft and I'll be hardly touching the stick. As soon as I'm cruising, I'll be trimming in the aircraft and hardly touching the stick. Exactly the same with landing, is setting the speed up, getting everything trimmed, and the aircraft will almost land itself. So you should never hand fly the aircraft down onto the runway.
I may have just missed my taxiway, so don't mind me.
I did it as well. I went through the no entry cones. I'm just because I saw some aircraft down there. So there's some planes down here. I'll just wait down here with them. But it's even things like, obviously with the checklist, is you power the aircraft up with brakes on 2100 RPM and you do your mag checks.
Yep.
It's real life. You do your mag checks and away you go.
And that's what I did sort of short circuit the startup procedure here a little bit tonight, but yeah, when I tested earlier, you see the mag drop, you see the RPM drops, and that's great to see.
Yep.
Just noticing here, so a couple of people in the chat are sort of been saying have observed that a lot of third-party devs, especially early on, have complained that the interactive checklist is too hard, and I myself have heard that from a variety of developers of various different. Including various different levels of content that have been produced for other sims in the past. So,
yep.
Honestly, is it that hard to create the interactive checklists?
For Microsoft, no, absolutely not. I mean, the thing with this is that I've developed aircraft for Flight Sim World, and it's very, very similar. Very similar to how they were done for FSW. So, I found the checklist. Actually, I didn't make the checklist for this, but I found them actually relatively easy to make. If you understand coding in XML, they're relatively easy to do.
So that's actually interesting that you bring that up there, talking about FSW, because of course that was the big thing about Flight Sim World, was that it had that interactive checklists as part of the default experience. And so how was that for you? Because so viewers at home, I know a lot of you are aware of what Flight Sim World was. Some of you who are newer to the hobby may not. Els and I go way back when it comes way back to when it comes to Flight Sim World. So I'm just how was that? What was that experience like for you when you saw this new sim and you saw things like the interactive checklist, the UI? Like, how was that on a more personal note?
For me, I mean, I've flown DCS for years, so combat was my thing. I had P3D. I was doing work projects, so the RAF stuff I was doing was P3D. So I was used to P3D. I was used to Sim Director to produce all the missions, and then I switched. Obviously, I was used to DCS for using their mission editor, which was very, very different. But the UIs to me were very clunky, very, very clunky. And then Dovetail came out with Flight Sim World, and we talked to them very early on about developing aircraft for it. And it was a breath of fresh air. I was like, it's modern. Its interface is really well thought out. And when the checklist we're doing and the mission design was so easy to do for it as well. And it was like, great, as an aircraft developer, this makes my life so much easier. I don't have to worry about all the intricacies of things because the core sim developer has thought about that already, and it makes our job so much easier to do that.
Oh, it really does, and that's great to hear. As I said, like I must admit, there was a lot for me when I was in Seattle, and I got my first the first hands-on look at this sim, and just went. There were so many memories of Flight Sim World that sort of started happening because I was like, wow, like this is everything that we knew Flight Sim World was eventually going to head towards. And it's
Yeah.
like, wow, this is where we could have had this, but yes. Ellise, so Sergio just sort of mentioned that Flight Sim World did spawn a bit of a hell on earth because it was the reason the Three Grumpy Simmers came into existence.
That's not a bad thing. I love you three guys, so it's not a bad thing.
It was
Absolutely not a bad thing.
I still remember, it was really interesting because it was almost I think it was almost a year after our first episode of Flight Sim World. We then produced another episode which was lamenting the demise of Flight Sim World.
Yeah,
so
I
that
remember
was
that.
that was a fascinating. That's been what a journey that's been, because that's. We were, Sergio was mentioning the other day, that's 4 years we've been together now doing that.
4 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
4 years of being grumpy on live on air. Um,
Amazing. I mean, obviously for me as an aircraft developer, I think literally we put the P40 out, and a month later they said we're stopping development of all of Flight Sim World, and you can imagine the phone call I had, and it was a case of, are you kidding me? Because we literally, obviously, it was all personal money to me. So every aircraft I've ever developed has all been personal money. You know,
Yeah.
I don't have a pension anymore because I've invested it in aircraft. So dumping all the money into doing the P40, getting out, and then obviously Spitfire was to follow. And we had it in Sim, and PC Pilot did a feature on it, and all of this stuff. And then I got that phone call saying we're actually stopping all core development of the Sim, and the same day literally let go of a lot of their staff. It was horrendous. It was like heartbreaking.
And that
it was one of those
yeah.
wait what moments.
Yeah, it was very much one of those wait what when we saw the announcement as well, particularly because I just put out an episode, or I just finished. I think I got the notification just as I finished recording the episode, highlighting the beta branch ideas of the jobs and stuff, and going, this is what a lot of us have been waiting for. And then to get that news, it was like, wow, okay. Grand Tiger Martin, yes, absolutely. Grumpy Martin, absolutely correct. That is, I am one of the three Grumpy Simmers. In fact, we actually have all three of the three Grumpy Simmers actually here tonight. So there you go. All right, let's get this beautiful aircraft into the air, or this interesting looking aircraft into the air. So flaps 10.
It is beautiful.
It is. We love aircraft of all shapes and persuasions. Okay, so let's switch over to landing from taxi. Strobes on, and
A little bit of wind in the mission, but that's good.
a little bit of fun. You don't have to worry about retracting gear, of course, with this aircraft.
Nope. I've lost my back arrow as always because of the sunshine.
I can definitely see how you're right. Just the visibility is absolutely stunning.
Yep.
Oz Flight Simmer, hello and welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing fantastically well. Great to see you.
The main thing to reiterate with this is it's constant trimming. You know, if you're climbing, in your own cruise, you're descending, landing, it's constant trimming. You can almost fly hands off.
Well, so that's basically essentially what I'm doing is that I'm essentially just controlling this on just power and trims at the moment, and a little bit of rudder pedal.
Yep. Old school flying.
And because the trim range of this aircraft is phenomenal. It's
awesome.
absolutely phenomenal, this one.
Really is good.
I
mean, the idea behind is if you're doing observation, is you can literally stick it in a bank and just trim it out.
That is amazing.
So cruise speed's around 80 knots, and that at 80 knots that will get you, 70 knots. At 70 knots that will get you around about 8 hours flight time. which I have tested on numerous occasions.
I was about to ask, have you actually tested that to see how the 8 hours flight time?
Actually tested it. Yeah, I have actually tested it.
That would be
because we changed the we changed things very slightly during development. So actually, if I look down in my RPM gauges, I've got 7.5 hours logged, and that was about a 5-hour test this week. But before that, because the way the sim works and the coding is you can actually do kind of different versions of the aircraft. So in this particular one, is about 7.5 hours I've got logged in.
So I was about to say, so that's interesting. So the actual the gauge is interactive, so it does actually sort of record the airframe hours for that particular livery.
It's not for the particular livery. So we do have two liveries with this. So we have the standard model that you're flying at the moment, and there's also liveries that have like a camera in the nose, like an observation camera that's 3D modeled. It will record the same hours because if I'm looking at your labels at the moment, the ICO is Oscar Papa Charlie Alpha Optica.
Yep.
So before. Literally a couple of weeks ago, it wasn't Optica, but we've changed it to Optica, to the ICO. So Volanta also ties into it as well. So any hours recorded in any of the liveries now will count to exactly the same amount, or the total amount. But it's something that we're told potentially is coming in the future. So if you're flying a slightly different livery or a different type of aircraft, even though it may be the same type, you've got skis or floats or something like that.
Hang on. Sorry, did you just say we're going to have an Optica on skis?
It's not in my development plans, but it'd be interesting.
I mean, I'm just imagining an Optica on skis or floats, and that would be a terrifying idea.
Just that might be a challenge.
It might be a challenge, exactly. So, Lieutenant Smartass, hello and welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing fantastically well. So we are currently test flying and checking out the Edgley Optica EA-7 that's just been released from Orbx. We're taking it for a bit of a test flight, see how she flies and getting some experience with it. It is a very unique aircraft that has been both been a fascinating aircraft to see flying in real life. I've never seen one fly in real life. I've seen one on the ground parked in Western Australia many years ago. There you go.
Definitely. What I mean, I've got the sun coming in behind me, coming over the gauges and everything here, and over the leather seats, and I've got my tracker R working in, so I'm looking left and it's amazing open scenery. I'm looking right, amazing open scenery with it straight in front of us. So it's just, for visibility, it's just simply stunning. And this is why we've chosen it.
And you're absolutely right. In a way, really, that this kind of like is the perfect aircraft to come out from Orbx. With your all the scenery that you create, it really is a great way, and especially with Microsoft Flight Sim being. I know there's a lot of people who say, "Oh, Microsoft Flight Sim is all just about the eye candy. It's not about flying. If you want a real fly sim, go fly. Insert legacy outdated sim here." So I guess there's a two-part reason I can't use that one. So one, yes, you're absolutely right. This is a great way to be able to capture and see all those visuals. But I'm actually curious to hear your thoughts now that you've sort of dabbled in both the sort of realms that Microsoft Flight Simulator have sort of become known for, which is the whole, both the detailed scenery, the both ships with the sim by default, and of course creating the additional scenery that we've seen from Orbx Direct. But also now, creating aircraft both in partnership with your partners who are available from Orbx Direct, and also now your own native aircraft for MSFS. What would you say to those who, especially those who have never actually flown in MSFS or haven't flown since launch day? What would you say to them they turn around and say, "Oh, this is just for eye candy. This isn't for real flying"?
I disagree with that because I mean, yes, yeah, I mean it's very much about the eye candy, and compared to every other sim, DCS has literally just updated their cloud and lighting system, and I was flying that last weekend, and it looks stunning, it looks amazing, but I'm stuck over Nevada or Georgia or Syria or particular areas, and that's fine if I'm doing the combat for those things, but for a real world flying experience, like I can take off from Biggin Hill, which is it's not my local airport now, but it's where I grew up. And I can take off from Biggin Hill and I can fly around the whole of the southeast of England visually because I know those areas. I know that those hills are accurate. I know that that particular flight path, I shouldn't be flying near Gatwick and I should be going around the CTAs and I should be avoiding this, that, and the other. And to me, that's a flying experience. It's not about looking down on the visuals of it, it's about the flying experience. If I want to go to Courchevel, which is where I regularly, Courchevel and Maribel, it's where I regularly go snowboarding every year, pre-COVID. And actually, yeah, with P-Man, if he's still watching, P-Man and I are off to Maribel in March next year. You know, and to me, if I want to simulate going to Maribel, I can fly down to Lyon, I can then take a GA aircraft, or I can fly my BizJet and try and land at a Courchevel, and then I'm in the Alps. And it's not visual for me, it's a flying experience. You know, I quite often fly the citation between Gatwick and Alicante. My parents live in Spain, and when I visit my parents, I fly to Alicante. And when I'm flying, coming into Alicante, yes, visually I recognize all the mountains that are there, I recognize everything that as it would be when I'm looking out the side window of an EasyJet A320. But it gives me that experience of actually flying. And that's why I love these kind of GA aircraft, because for me personally, it's a step up from any of the other sims that have been out there.
Absolutely, and I think I think you because it captured it really, really well there. We're talking about it's about the experience, and the experience, you know, isn't just one thing, and being able to it's about bringing all those things together. Like I remember when we talked to the last time you were on here, one of our developer diaries, when we talked about the modeling outside the airport perimeter and things like that.
It's the added details.
Okay, that was fun. I tell you what, when you get caught, when you catch some wind, wow. Okay, that was
gotta be
okay. And to be fair, also, the stall recovery procedure was right. It's power on.
Yep.
Power on, and gentle stick movements. That was both terrifying and really impressive, because that really shows how much work you put into the flight model.
Yeah, it's and that's the beauty of it. To me, I'm a virtual pilot. I've been a virtual pilot, as I said, for 20 plus many years now. And to me, developing an aircraft, it has to be right. I've worked very closely with the team, project managing them, and the team are amazing that have put this together. They've got a lot of experience developing aircraft. But it's a case of me, okay, this is what I want as a virtual pilot. And this is what we need to achieve. So very early on, in early discussions, was this is what we need to achieve with this product. Forget that it's Orbx first product, because the next aircraft we do will be just as good. And the one after that would be just as good. And the one after that would be just as good. Because it's an experience that, as long as I'm in charge of developing it, and everyone at Orbx has got the same ideas that I have, is it has to be accurate and it has to be enjoyable. And it's paramount to me. It's that complete flying experience,
and finding that balance really is close really good.
It is, and it's exactly the same with the Orbx products, with the airports, with the scenery. Nvidia came to us with this Taipei and said we need Taipei built within a week. And I was like, okay, how are we going to pull that one off? And we did. And what we've learned from doing Singapore, and what we've learned from doing Sydney, and what we've learned from doing London, and all of these lessons, as the sim has evolved with all the world updates and with all the sim updates, so has our development technique. So actually, when you're looking at the night lighting in Taipei now, it's better than Singapore, and Singapore was absolutely amazing. But Taipei now is kind of a next step up because of the lessons we've learned and the updates to the sim. And that's the beauty of developing a product for something like this. It's a diverse world, we can develop anywhere in the world and try and make it look as realistic as possible. And that's the goal of Orbx and always has been.
And that's a really good way, because we'll just sort of pick up a couple of questions coming in from the crew here. By the way, just quick shout out to Razor making that 787 do
That's
things
amazing.
that a 787 shouldn't possibly be able to do, but yet.
Yeah.
See, Razor, I can see you becoming a test pilot. I genuinely can, because you make aeroplanes do things that the engineers go, they shouldn't be able to do those things. Anyway,
Be doing that. Yeah.
well, that's right. Let's make let's make things a little bit brighter for everybody, because it is getting a little bit past sunset here. So let's bring that a bit brighter for everybody. There we go. I guess we'll also we'll pick up there. So Dreadmidas was asking, and just want to clarify here that the flight model for this aircraft. So this is completely native to the sim. You're not trying to use a WebAssembly injected one like Fly Inside do.
No. So it's something we discussed because obviously past experience developing the DCS is you don't have that native flight model within the sim.
Really?
No, you don't. With any flight model, there are two. There's a standard FM or SFM, and there's an advanced EFM or an external EFM. And what you do is you code everything completely from scratch. So with DCS, if you're producing an aircraft, third-party aircraft for DCS, then one of the requirements is you develop your own flight model. And literally, there is nothing. There's no single line of code. So you have to understand fluid dynamics. You have to code everything from scratch, hydraulic, electric systems. Yep. The beauty of Microsoft Flight Sim is that's taken care for you if you want a very good flight model. If you want a 100% realistic flight model down to schematic level, with hydraulics and the fuel and those kind of systems, you have the ability to do that using the WebAssemblies and SimConnect and those kind of things. But you don't have to go to that level of detail. If you also go to that level of detail, you're talking potentially 1-2 years plus to develop an aircraft. That's not a good business case. And that's something I found out developing aircraft for DCS. If an aircraft is taking 2 to 4 years to develop, that's a lot of money you have to pour into it, and a lot of development time before you get products to market, and a very slow time between products to market as well.
I was about to say that would be incredibly slow to bring products to market then.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely was. Yeah, the time between products I was looking at for DCS was 2 years, whereas compared to 3 to 4 months for an aircraft for Microsoft Flight Sim, depending on the aircraft, obviously. But if you went for something GA, something Warbirdy, using it's not a default flight model, it's standard parameters. So as an example, standard parameters that have been around from FSX days and FSW days through to MUSFS days, things like percent RPM, flap percentage, aileron percentage, elevator percentage. The arguments are there. And what you're doing is you're producing a flight model using those standard arguments and then tweaking it based on the aircraft's performance. So as I said it earlier, with the Optica, it's the default stalling system that Microsoft has because they haven't given us the parameters for those stalling mechanics just yet.
Right.
When that comes out, then we can update the aircraft to do that. So you can actually produce aircraft and get aircraft out the door, depending on the size of your team, within 3 to 4 months.
Wow. And that's just simply because of the evolution and the tools that...
Yeah.
Because I remember that's interesting that you say that, because I remember there was a lot of lamenting from a lot of people, and I'll own it, I was one of those people at the start, because of course being a texture artist myself, that the documentation for the SDK was not great. let's call it for what it was. It was shit.
Yeah.
And
it's got better.
It's left a lot of us, especially as I said originally. Again, using myself as an example, my experience of trying to produce textures for this sim was just it was a nightmare. It wasn't until we sort of a few people got together and it was like really fundamentally. It wasn't until Asobo came out themselves with their own add-on liveries that we really cracked it and went, that's how we can add liveries in the same way we add aircraft.
Yeah.
So you're saying that although they had a rocky, rough start with the developer community, you would say confidently now that they're more definitely the tools have definitely improved to a point where they are a lot more developer friendly?
I'd say so. I mean, the 3D Max tools, which is kind of, I love modeling and I love animating and that kind of stuff. So, when the team are producing aircraft, it's very much I want to see how you do this. I want to know how you do it. And I had a Discord session, a screen sharing session with the guys doing the code, the systems coding, and the animations and the modeling, and the same with the texture artists. Like, how do you actually do this? Because as a project manager, I should know, and I want to know. But it also interests me how you do it because different sims do it different ways.
Very different ways. Yeah.
Very different ways. I mean, I've seen. I'm part of there's a Facebook group and a Discord channel about this was 2020 developers group, and I'm starting to see a lot of posts saying, "Oh, I ported this aircraft from FSX, and I ported this aircraft from P3D." That's great to have a play around to know how to do those things, but give the developer their fair dues and their credit because it is their original product. But also that developer may be producing the aircraft themselves. So it kind of opens that question of should people be allowed to be able to port things? And Microsoft has been very clear from the outset, any existing aircraft should be able to port it over to Microsoft Flight Sim very easily. And what we found with the SDK is although there are a lot of challenges with the SDK and there are a lot of things you have to work out yourself, it's actually better than some of the other sims like DCS's SDK or FSW's SDK even wasn't very user-friendly from a developer point of view. I just happened to live 20 minutes drive from their office and spent most of my time in their office learning how to do things. So I think Microsoft and Asobo are listening. They're listening to the developer community. They are responding to the community with better tools. And I haven't actually installed SDK 13. I'm still on version 12 right now. But 12 was better than 11 and 11 was better than 10. So I think they are listening and they are helping us develop things.
It's actually interesting. Sorry to interrupt you there, but I just do want to pick on something. I want to pick up on something just there because it's an interesting topic, that porting over of content from legacy sims into the new sim, and that's been something that we've discussed here on various episodes here. Fundamentally, I think that is. I understand why they did it, but fundamentally, I think that was possibly is possibly the worst part about this sim, is the fact that you can do that relatively easily.
Yeah.
From a developer point of view, I 100% get it, that you can bring your project over to go, okay, what's changed about this sim? Because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, this sim is still, and its grandfather is still ESP at the end of the day. It absolutely is. So, and I get that, that's fine. And for developers who've been developing on a very, very stable ESP base for the last 15 years?
About that. Which is mad to think about.
It's incredibly crazy to think about. So I get for developers to have that tool available for them to bring an aircraft in or bring a scenery in and to be like, okay, I can bring it in, but what do I need to do to learn? My issue with it, though, is that we then have a lot of issues with a lot of non-developers. Well, there's two issues that I see. The first one is that you've touched on there, Els, which is you've got non-developers bringing stuff in when they don't necessarily have the permissions or the rights to do that.
Yes.
For those who know me in my past, that you may know that Milviz and I, we do not see eye to eye on a lot of things. But on one point that Milviz came out and turned around and said at the very, very start of this and said, do not port our aircraft over. Do not do it.
Yeah.
So to then see...
And I can understand why.
Yeah. And then to see people just going, oh, well, F you, and we're just going to do it anyway. I think that's showing incredible amount of disrespect to developers and to teams of people who have spent, huge amounts of time, effort, and energy bringing those aircraft to life. And as you rightly pointed out there, that you don't know that a developer's not already working on bringing that aircraft to the new sim.
I think it's detrimental to the development process because let's say I don't know, P40 is an example. So somebody's taken the P40 we've done for FSW and they ported it to Flight Sim. to Microsoft Flight Sim, if there's no credit given to the company that developed that aircraft in the first place, which is what I'm seeing a lot of at the moment, and I'm being quite vocal on it in discussion forums and those kind of things, saying, well, who's the originator of this aircraft? Is it a Milviz F4E, or is it a a so-and-so Spit 14, or whatever it happens to be? If you're crediting them, but also you could potentially, you don't know if they're developing a Spit 14 for Microsoft, or whatever aircraft it could be. You don't know if they're developing it already, and you could potentially be harming them, because it's not going to look as good when you port something as it is if you've actually developed it for Microsoft Flight Sim, and you've changed the PBR, and you've changed the flight model, and you've changed from the legacy system to the Microsoft system.
And that's where so that lack of credit, and that just the sheer and straight up, it's disrespecting to those who put in all the effort and all the hard work to make their content. And I guess the other side of that coin then is unfortunately that we've also seen some developers that have, rightly or wrongly, they've grabbed a product, they've ported it over very quick and dirty into the new sim, and then slapped a sales sticker on it and pushed it out the door. And it's been interesting to see that one of those developers who did that, it was also been very interesting to see how different developers react to when they see community feedback from that. So, and you know what, I said I get to, this is one of the advantages of being somebody on air, is I get to name people, even if I'm probably not supposed to. But yeah, for example, we had the reactions of, a good example of how to do it the right way is Lionheart Creations. And people who've been watching my channel for a while will know that I rave about the TB21 that the Lionheart brought over. But when he brought it over first time around, or when he first brought it over and pushed it out the door, it was shit. It was absolute shit. Like, it was terrible. But what the developer did, though, is the developer went, okay, all right, completely misjudged this. Let's go back to the drawing board. And that developer has now put out, I think it's got to be in excess of 20 patches. But now that aircraft is now a shining example of how to do it the right way. They've reworked the 3D model. They've reworked all the textures. They've reworked all the gauges. It no longer uses XML gauges. It's all brand new, ground up cockpit just for this sim. And that was an incredible thing to see that developer actually go out of their way to learn all those new skills and actually listen to the feedback from the community. So it was a great way to do it. Then we have on the other side, the other end of the spectrum, we have what had previously been one of my favourite developers, because as you know, Els, it's one of the reasons why I love this aircraft so much, is that I love weird and wonderful. So Golden Age Simulations.
Why we get on.
Exactly. Golden Age Simulations ported one of their aircraft over, slapped a sales sticker on it, pushed it out the door, and they got absolutely roasted by the community. They got torn apart. Now, instead of going, okay, we misjudged that, let's work on fixing it, let's work on doing something different, they've now turned around and said they're not developing for this sim. And it's sort of like,
which is a shame.
It's a huge shame, because their range have got an incredible aircraft, especially very, very unique aircraft, and it would be great if they would bring their content to life and bring it over, because I think it would do incredibly well in this sim, because a lot of their aircraft are like the Stinson auto gyro. Can you imagine having an auto gyro in this sim? It's sort of like,
that'd be awesome.
It's awesome, just like the Optica, because you get so much vision of it. I'm probably going to start descending, because I think I'm a little bit high.
You're really making me stall here. It's good, because the stall warning's going mad. But,
so yeah,
60 knots just on your tail.
See, I was just bumbling along, 70 knots, 80 knots.
So that's the great. Sorry, it's a great thing about this aircraft. You can just do that. If you want to put a little 60 knots, that's fine.
I know, this is the kind of flying that I love. It was wonderful seeing Rockview just sitting off my wing in the in the Cub before, because it's like, you're right, this is just a great way to fly, like this kind of like bush flying and this kind of low and slow and just enjoying the beauty. And this is the something I talk about for just flying and virtual aviation in general. Well, real aviation and virtual aviation, is that it's all about the wonder and rediscovering that sheer wonder and joy of the first time you crane your head skyward, the first time you get to fly an airplane. Like, as a, you know, I don't remember my first flight because I'm pretty sure I wasn't even a year old. But you know, my early flights as a kid, it was just so much wonder, and I am so grateful that this sim has helped me rediscover that wonder.
I have that. I've got twin 14-year-old boys, and obviously they've seen the development of Optica from day one. Yeah, and they've seen me flying in sims, and they've been flying since, I think I've got a photograph of them flying when they were about 2 years old. And it's kind of like, you know, they're sitting here holding the HOTAS Warhawk, the Thrustmaster one, and I'm kind of like, yeah, this is what it's about. And my son flew this for about 4 hours last weekend. And he's like, is this coming to Xbox? And I said, yeah, we'll do. So as soon as Microsoft releases the Xbox, we'll probably need to upgrade our Xbox, but that's fine. The one we've got is quite old anyway. He's like, I really want to get it, and I want to put my pocket money towards buying it.
Aww.
That's a full. Yeah, and I kind of sat here going, I feel really humbled as a parent that I love aviation, and I've managed to instill that in one of my kids. The other one's not as fast, but I've instilled it in one of my kids. And yeah, and he wants to spend his own pocket money buying it for the Xbox when it comes out. And this is a GTA person. We play GTA all the time, and he loves flying around in GTA. And it's kind of like, you know, I look at this in two minds, and it's this age-old argument of, is it a sim? Is it a game? Should it come out for Xbox? Shouldn't it come out for Xbox? Why can't it be on both? Why can't the Xbox be a catalyst for getting young people involved in aviation, whether it's sim flying or not? And as Orbx, I'm going to plug something I'm putting together, which we do every year, which is Fly July. And this year it's my turn to put something together that. And the whole theme of Fly July is to inspire young generation aviation. If I can inspire my son, a 14-year-old that loves mucking about in GTA, to actually come and fly something semi-realistic in Microsoft Flight Sim, then that's a win as a parent, but also a win as a developer.
Oh, absolutely, and definitely, and credits to both, but especially on the developer arc, because and circling in with that, wow, Razor, that's just, your skills are amazing. Watching as it's funny that, and it's funny you talking about the whole is it a sim, is it a game? Like, you know, say it with me, folks, it's both.
Yes.
I got into the perennial flame war that happens on every forum, every Facebook group, at least once a week.
Yep.
And I basically turned around and I said, I made a post and I said, say it with me, everybody, they are all games. Anyway,
at the end of the day, it is a game.
And the funny part was that somebody, and I particularly love it when this comes up, is that somebody said, well, if it's a game, how do you win? And I'm like, okay, that's it. I said, that's actually the easiest question you could have asked me, because you set the win condition. You know, it's like you as the user set the win condition. You know, what might be a win for me may not be a win for you, but that's okay, because it's all about, you know, you set how you want it to be. Now, you know, I said, you know, for some people it might be, okay, the win might be completing a flight from Heathrow to JFK. Cool, that's your win. And the best thing is that you can reset your win condition each time. It might be, okay, you completed the flight, but you weren't happy with your landing rate. That's okay. You can go back and try again. And then the best part was, they said, well, by that logic, then a level D simulator's a game. I said, yeah, it is. Because, and this is, and by the way, folks, especially to all the new viewers in the channel, welcome, by the way. I work in flight training. I literally teach pilots to fly. Like, I work on the sims, and I work on the courseware that help teach pilots to fly. And yeah, it's just a big game. And if most of these, bless their hearts, if most of these armchair tubeliner pilots had 5 minutes in an actual full mission simulator, then they would realize that They have no idea what they're talking about with systems, and the graphics they've got at home are far better than what you have in a flight sim, in an actual flight sim. That's always a fun conversation to have with people.
Yeah. The military stuff I've done in the past is exactly like that. It was looking at, I mean, with the air cadets, and it was actually using Iris's aircraft as well. Dave was amazing because Dave was an ex-air cadet. I was an ex-air cadet. And we're like, we want to give something back. So Dave and Karen and I had a massive chat about, how can we do something for them? How can we give them back? And we did basically, it was a virtual reality trainer. So you're sitting on a motion platform with VR, with a real world instructor sitting off your wing, prepping you to go and do your air experience flight. So the principal, the primary effects of controls, the secondary effects of controls. You're learning to fly in a sim while you're doing that. And the instructor was an ex-RAF fighter pilot that has turned his hand into volunteering his time to teach kids how to fly. And he said, this is an amazing game. And because to them, it is a game. Because you know what? They've sat in the real world thing. That's reality. Whether you call it a simulator or a game or not, essentially it comes down to it. In the core, it is a game.
And it's funny, but as I said, with my background in training, is that there's actually a legitimate process here. Oh, caught some wind! Wow, that wind effect is awesome.
It's fun,
and also so weird.
You're gonna get some weight turbulence in a minute.
Is that there's
I
actually
can't wait for that to come in.
A name for that, which is called the gamification of learning.
Yes.
And it's been really interesting for me because my career now has spanned across what is essentially 3 generations of learners. And it's been interesting watching us all have to adapt how we teach people to learn. And the generations coming through now, they don't respond to sitting there in the classroom with PowerPoint. Guess what they respond to?
Yep.
They respond to games. They respond to games and they respond to videos. So that's been a fascinating journey for that one as well. Just circling back to some of the comments we're seeing here. Dread Modest, you're absolutely right, and I think Microsoft absolutely did drop the ball on that one. That they sort of just pointed people at the generic Microsoft, game usage rules, game content usage rules, but I think that those rules are fundamentally outdated and they absolutely need to be updated. So no, I agree with you. I think Microsoft absolutely did drop the ball on that one, and they really should have explained to people more accurately sort of what the difference is and like what is allowable and what is not. So there you go.
I think this is. I mean, it's come to. I was talking to a developer earlier that's developing freeware stuff, and they're not interested in making money on it. They just want to develop freeware stuff, because again, the freeware thing came up saying, why should we buy Optica? Because there's a freeware version. And I said, well, that's your personal choice. We're not forcing you to buy this. We're giving you an option to buy something that, in our view, is better than the freeware one. So why not, fly the freeware one, see if you like it. Absolutely, I 100% support the developer that's making it. And if you like it that much, we think ours is better. That's our personal opinion, but everyone's so far since it's come out, and the streams I have seen and the influencers that have this have all come back and gone, actually, this is really, really good. That's why we're doing this, and this is. It's our first aircraft. This has been a learning tool for us on how to develop aircraft for Microsoft Flight Sim. We've got some very exciting stuff coming up later this year I can't talk about, but we've got some extremely exciting partnerships, extremely excited things going on. We're actually developing aircraft for clients that may or may not make it to the sim. That's discussions we're talking to. But as Orbx, and again, it's a completely independent team, it's outside of our norms, so there's no worries about affecting products and stuff that's in the pipeline right now. If a client can come to us and say, we want to put our aircraft into the simulator for X, Y, Z reasons, and we can say, yeah, we can do that. To me, that's a win-win for everybody, because as a business, as Orbx, it's something we're developing our talents into. It's upskilling our staff into being able to do that. It's learning off of existing developers that are already doing it and listening to their woes and their tales and all the problems that go along with developing something. But it's a win-win for everybody, including the entire community.
Yeah, it's that communicate, yeah, that sort of shared experience, and I have to, as I said, like my I think as I said, like the Optica, the freeware Optica that's out there. I mean, I flew it back in FSX and prepared. I have not flown it in
Yep.
MSFS. So full disclosure here, I haven't flown it, guys. Mainly because I question whether or not that team had the permission of the original dev to do it. But because I'm very very uncomfortable with a lot of these port overs,
Yep.
especially considering that it's a known issue that a lot of the port overs cause people crashes to desktop. Not necessarily the person who's flying the aircraft, but other users. I know that they never figured out why that happens, but it's documented. We've experienced it here live on stream, as people will know. That I just, and again, that goes back into my whole way of if I'm going to see a freeware aircraft get ported over, then I want to have seen it come from the original developer of that aircraft for the other platform.
Yeah.
Or I want to have, I want to see some documentation up front that says, yes, this original dev. I want to see the correspondence, like literally. Like it sounds terrible, but it's just one of those things where it doesn't sit right with me. Being a user who's had their stuff nabbed and reused without my permission is definitely not something that I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that in very recent weeks with products for Microsoft Flight Sim. Skins, liveries. We've experienced it with Orbx as well. We see a lot of piracy because, and the thing with the ESP-based platform, and it's something Dovetail actually looked at, and they managed to do it because it was done out on Steam, so you could use the Steam DRM.
Yeah.
You couldn't copy an aircraft and just dump it into another folder and somebody could fly it.
Yeah.
With Microsoft Flight Sim right now, you can absolutely do that. But as a developer, how do we can't stop people doing that because it's part of the core sim. We could implement our own DRM system that if you haven't bought the Optica from Orbx, then the front panel disappears. You can't actually fly the aircraft. We could implement that, but that's limited to players buying it or pilots buying it on Orbx Direct. What about Microsoft Store? If Microsoft don't implement some kind of DRM, then we're still going to have the same kind of issue. And it's a case of, it's a case of, do we just accept that as an industry? And I know Anna, our CEO, has reached out to a lot of developers to kind of talk about this issue and should we be doing something? And there's a lot of roundtable discussions going on about it right now. And it's a difficult one to tackle. But I have the same premise of, has this freeware product had the original developer's permission? Because if somebody did it with one of my products, I'd be really upset about it, and rightly so.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about the situation we fly in with the ESP Sims is that it is so. With ESP Sims and with MSFS is that it is all about that community folder and sharing, and fundamentally we're all based on a community sort of experience, and sharing is that. But again, as you say, when you're looking at that from a developer point of view, it makes it a bit more of a sticky wicket, with sort of being able to look and how do you manage that. And I know conversations that I've had with other developers myself over the years that. They made an interesting observation. I remember one very in-depth conversation with iBlue Yonder several years ago that we sat down. We were possibly slightly intoxicated in a bar somewhere after a conference.
With B-dubs? Never.
But we were talking about DRM and stuff like that, and they basically turned around and said they made a very interesting point because they'd said that they'd tried various different DRMs over the years, and they said at the end of the day, it's like a DRM and piracy is like an arms race. You come out with DRM, then the pirates will figure out a way around it. So you come out with different DRM, and the pirates will find a way to get around that. It doesn't take long. And he said the only people who end up losing is the end user. And he said you can DRM, you can do whatever you want at the end of the day, but the people who lose is the end user, and you end up alienating more people than you save. And it's a very interesting way of looking at it that I did with that. Yeah, exactly, Mr. Beltier. It was that airport bar in Connecticut. That was the one. Yep, there are many memories of that one over there. So that was a lot of fun
And
to
many
fly.
stories have been retold.
Oh, it absolutely was. By the way, folks, I'm gonna give a bit of a shout out as well to Orbx here because we are actually flying at we actually flew at an Orbx partner airport. I believe this is a partner airport, not Orbx in house. Is that
It
right?
is, yeah. No, this is AUC's airport, or Aussie. I'm not sure how they actually pronounce it. AUC, Aussie. But yeah, this is one of their partner airports, which is looking stunning.
I've got to admit that
So,
I've reviewed another. I haven't reviewed this one, but I've reviewed a Canellan Airport um, for X-Plane and for the ESP Sims from another developer, and the developer's name escapes me for the moment. But this one blows it out of the way, like because I've flown out of Canellan multiple times.
yeah.
And not gonna lie, the amount of nostalgia coming out seeing the AAT Kings bus in the car park, holy crap! The sheer amount of nostalgia coming out of here is just insane right now. So yeah, this is an incredible airport. And again, one of the great ways that, of course, one of the great ways of being able to use the Optica is that we don't have to use a drone camera anymore. You can actually fly an aeroplane like that. Though I did notice
Light
that.
aircraft has got a big drone view.
Though I did notice that Helisimmer before did sort of mention that what else also has a great view out the front of it that may not have fixed wings.
Yeah, and I'm with Sergio on that one. I have been flying the two helicopters we have in here. I'd love to be able to see more, but right now there isn't. So I know there are obviously a lot in development. So this, I'll tell you what, Sergio, this is the next best thing because it's got a helicopter.
Oh,
Cockpit,
I was going to say it's a helicopter front end. It's just
it's they've just stuck some wings on the back of it. That's all.
which I think is perfectly sound, perfectly valid.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly valid. It's a good stepping stone, Sergio.
It really is. It really, really is. And I'm just going to take that's a beautiful, wonderful screenshot to actually capture there. That's really awesome. Actually, I'm going to quickly turn off the old tags quickly because I think that is an absolutely amazing screenshot to get of all these Opticas together with the 787 and the sun setting over Uluru in the distance there. That is amazing.
I might be phased through. Let me see if I can push back a little bit.
I got to admit though that I like every now and again I like the few sort of ESP isms that still survive into the sim like Shift P.
Let me just push back. I'm not waiting for some cart to come and push me back.
Master Braytech, yeah, that is correct. So this is a Qantas Link 7-1. Actually, no, this isn't the 717. I think that's one of the Fokkers they've got actually. But yeah, so this is this is a static aircraft. No, it is one of the 717s. My apologies. So yeah, this is one of the static aircraft that's on display at Canellan because the 717s do operate out of. They fly a shuttle flight between Alice Springs and Canellan is the 717, or there's also 737s that operate in and out of here regularly, or at least used to anyway. Dread Minus is making a good point that I also say as well, use more of the parallax windows when using your sceneries.
You will see that when we get to Taipei.
There you go. That is awesome.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in the Taipei scenery. It's free, so go grab it and take your drone camera around, and you'll see a lot of advanced parallax stuff, and also quite a few Easter eggs in there.
Ooh, so I think that sounds like Orbx has definitely learnt from the London experience. Folks, we're going to take a quick break here. We're actually going to reconvene. Originally, we'd planned for 3 flights. We actually might just do 2 flights tonight. So we're actually going to go have a look at the Taipei scenery. But we are going to take about a 5-6 minute break here because I know I need a new beverage. And make sure you do as well. When we come back, as well as looking over the Taipei scenery, we are also going to be giving away, thank you very much to Ellise and Orbx, we will be giving away 3 copies of the Optica tonight. We will be giving away 3 copies of the Optica tonight. Well, let me rephrase. We're giving away 2 copies tonight, and then we're giving away a 3rd copy. But it's going to be a bit of a challenge that we're going to talk about coming up after the break. All right, folks, as I said, so we're going to take about a 5-6 minute break. So make sure you grab a beverage as well. And we'll be back. We're going to be some bit of a commercial break, and we'll be back very, very soon. See you shortly. Alrighty, folks, welcome back. So we are back once again. So we're going to go off to skies a little bit more to the far eastern skies. Well, actually, north actually from where we are at the moment. So we're going to go check out Taipei. You're back with water. Excellent there, Mr. LGO. So let's head to Taipei. So let's jump back into our main menu here. Now, as I said, we're going to be looking at the this shiny new freeware pack released by Orbx in partnership with Nvidia. This is that story. I didn't realize, else, that they sort of just basically said to you, "Oh yeah, here's 2 weeks' notice," and but actually we need it in a week.
Yeah,
So it's like that. That would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing, obviously, to be asked to do this. It's an honor to work with Nvidia on this, and the team at Nvidia have been absolutely amazing through this whole process. Because you can imagine, it's like, okay, why do you want Taipei specifically? And if anybody watched the keynote speech from Nvidia that came out on Tuesday morning UK time, so I guess be Wednesday. I can never get these time zones right with Australia.
I guess it's something time zone.
been
Just ask the three grumpies. Ask the three
something.
grumpies. Ask the three grumpies
Yeah.
about time zones.
Basically, the point of this was that they wanted to do something to Computex because Computex was in Taipei. Nvidia couldn't attend Taipei, so how could they virtually attend Taipei? So, the opening keynote speech was the video of flying around Taipei with Orbx logo, which we all sat there going, "Oh, we didn't know it was going to be first. That's amazing."
That's awesome.
Yeah, so they it's absolutely awesome. Yeah, we thought it was going to be part of the keynote speech and somewhere through it, but they actually opened the keynote with us with the video flying around Taipei. And yeah, it was a rapid deployment project, but we pulled it off exceptionally. And I won't say it's our best product because we've got some amazing products out there, but all the lessons we've learned from developing scenery so far, this is the latest project, and the next project will learn from this one, and the next one will learn from the next one. And that's the beauty of this, and that's what I think a lot of the communities forget with developers is when you develop something, it's a learning process. We've developed Optica. It's been a massive learning process for us, especially with the center of gravity bug. When we develop the next aircraft, we'll take all of the lessons learned from this one and put it into the next one to make the next one better. And it's a snowball effect. The other beauty of this is that the sim is being updated. Sim update 5, I think they announced, comes out this month, next month, I think.
Oh, wow. That's out of sequence.
I think there's a world update this month and then a sim update next month. I can't remember which way around it is, but the thing with this is that the sim is also very much in its infancy. It's not a finished sim by no means.
And I think that's a really interesting thing as well. Incidentally, folks, if you're wanting to join us, you're more than welcome to. As I said, we're going to be flying around Taipei, Romeo, Charlie, Sierra, Sierra. I was going to say live weather, but I just saw live weather and went, no, we're not doing live weather.
Yeah.
We're going to do high-level clouds is what we're going to use. But so that's something as well that I'm glad you brought up here, Els, because I know that's been an issue with. Excuse you. No, here, come here. Somebody was just clawing my shiny new Secret Labs chair, and that's not on.
Oh, that's not right.
That's not on. You have your whole chair to claw yourself. So but that's something that I'm glad interesting that you brought up there, Els, because I guess I suppose it doesn't apply as much to X-Plane, but definitely to the prepared, the ESP family of sims anyway. Is that the sim? Okay, well, people say prepared's dynamic. It's really not. It's pretty static. I mean, we see a major change from LM once every 2 to 4 years. But fundamentally, the sim hasn't changed since 2004. So, how's that been as a developer to not have a static platform anymore?
It's interesting. You have to think dynamically. Essentially, it is.
That's a good way
If
to
you're
put it.
saying I'm going, yeah, I mean, it literally is. You're developing dynamically, because if the sim is dynamic and the sim is updating all of the time, it's a question of, you can take a very negative view and say, oh, they're doing a sim update. What are they going to break next time?
Hmm.
Or you can take a positive attitude, which I tend to do, is, well, no, it's not what they're going to break. It's what they're going to introduce that we can capitalize on.
Yeah.
Is what new features will the sim have? And I'm still very much an advocate for DCS. I love DCS. I love flying in DCS. There's been a lot of history and past issues with developing for DCS, but that's put aside. I still love their platform, and they've recently released an update with all the clouds and lighting system, and it looks absolutely stunning, and I enjoy flying in it. So as a developer, if I was still developing with DCS, it's a case of how can I capitalize on that new lighting system? What can I do in my products, whether it's aircraft or airports or PBR or whatever it happens to be? What can I do to make my products better for that new version of the sim? And if you start thinking dynamically like that, I think you'll have a lot more success as a business, and you'll have a lot more fun and enjoyment actually developing, rather than sitting there going, "Oh, what have they broken? I need to try and fix something." If they've broken it, okay, you just get on and you fix it.
I guess that's
Yeah.
and that's really interesting that you bring that up as well, because one thing that we see ad nauseum in all of the MSFS groups is always talking about how, oh, Microsoft have broken this with the update. Oh, they broke the fly-by-wire. Oh, damn you, Microsoft, evil Microsoft. It's like, well, actually, no. What they did is they made your sim better, and at the end
Yeah.
of the day, whether we like it or not, as both you and I are both third-party devs, they actually
Yep.
don't owe us anything.
No.
Their responsibility is to people who purchase the sim, who want the base
Yep.
sim without our products in it to be better.
Yep. Yep.
That's the only thing they owe anything to.
Yeah, and I've seen, on developer forums, it's like, we're not going to develop for Xbox, and I say, why the hell not? Why are you not open? I mean, there's such a mass marketplace compared to, PC simmers. The Xbox marketplace is huge. How well is most of us going to do on marketplace? None of us know. Absolutely none of us know. I don't even think Microsoft know. But you know what? Embrace the challenge of changing all your LODs to be able to, all of the scenery, all of the POIs, you now have to add LODs to.
Oh, really? That's new.
Which is before you didn't have to, because PCs have got very good graphics cards to be able to handle that. All right, new gen Xboxes, but people will still fly this on an old gen Xbox, so you have to be conscious of the LOD system. If it means going back and updating your product, if you can't be bothered to do that in the first place, then I question why you're a developer. Because as a developer, you've got a responsibility to the people who've purchased your product to keep that product up to date. Now, there's caveats to that, because P3D, V3, V4, V5, do you want to invest the time in updating your products? That's a different argument to something like Microsoft Flight Sim that is going to evolve. It will evolve over the years. It's going to come out on another platform that's alien to flight simmers, but it's going to introduce young people into the flight sim genre. And the money that Microsoft make from that, what are they going to do with it? Some of it, I hope, they're going to reinvest into the development of the sim.
Yeah, exactly,
which is a win-win for everybody.
And that's a really interesting situation as well that I probably want to talk about. It's very interesting that you talk about that, in your view on that is, I know that when Sergio and Belgiot and I, we've talked about this on the 3 Grumpy Simmers as well in the past, where, I mean, we're very much in a world now, software as a service. Whether we like it or not, software as a service is here to stay.
Yeah.
And what I found really, really interesting was the fact that Microsoft are treating MSFS much like Windows, where it's a one-time buy and they'll just keep updating it. And in a way, we have to be mindful that these servers that give us our live weather, they give us stream our scenery to us, they cost money. So if we're not paying subscription fees, I pay, I've got my subscription to WoW, I've got my, God knows how much money Adobe takes from me every month.
I'm the same.
But it's, but here though, like we've got this, this amazing product, this amazing global flight simulator that we don't have to keep paying for every month. So that's where I look as a very big reason to buy from the Microsoft Marketplace.
Yeah, yeah. It's to me, it's you don't even have to buy the sim. Okay, I've upgraded the sim and I've bought all of the aircraft and I've got the whole pack because again I want to see what other aircraft are like and what other aircraft are doing and those kind of things. But I don't have to. I've got Game Pass, so I don't have to buy it because I've got it on Game Pass.
That's the other thing that blows me away is that for $5, I think it's $5 or maybe it's $10 a month now, you can get this and all these other games every month. Like, and in full too. I think, though, I believe you only get the base version of MSFS, though.
I think you don't get the base version, but that's good enough. If you don't want to fly the Dreamliners, and if you don't want to fly all the advanced stuff, and you don't want all the advanced Heathrows and all the other airports, the base version is absolutely fine.
And that's one of the things that I actually think that Microsoft and Asoba did really, really well with targeting that and going, you know what, it is fine to just have the base version. And the fact that it is all you get extra was you get the extra aircraft and it is, as you point out, if you're not into flying a 787, then you don't have to get that. Now that's also, we won't talk about the 787 too much because that would also explain why a certain other developer that's in the shit with the community at the moment aliased a 747 and not a 787.
Yes.
But Razor made an interesting point there that he, like I actually also had fully expected this to be a subscription-based service when they first announced it.
Yeah, it's totally right.
And that's why I was very surprised and very pleasantly surprised that it wasn't. And even Belgio typing in there as well that all of us, we all theorized that it was going to be a subscription-based service, and then we were all very surprised when it was not. So that was great to see. Now I'm totally going to cut across here to join you over there on the threshold of 2.8. Yep.
Just parked up a little bit.
Now, I have a question to ask, though, because I'm not sure if it turned on or not. So, one of the bugbears that I had, Else, I'm not going to lie to you, one of the bugbears that I have about both Sydney and London was that we didn't have the POI markers, actually, in the sim. Do we have POI markers for Taipei? I believe you, because I believe you put them in for Singapore. But do you put them in for Taipei?
I honestly don't know, because I don't have them on, because they annoy the hell out of me. I literally, because I'm flying, it's even, I mean, I do actually like having the aircraft tags on because I can see who else is flying around me. But quite often I'll fly with them off because to me it's not real world. So I don't have the POI markers. Okay. I honestly couldn't tell you.
Well, let me tax you into position and let me try to see they're on or not. Because that was one of those interesting things because I sort of split between the thought processes there with you. So on one level, I know it's sort of that whole immersion breaking, but at the same time, if I'm in an area that I'm not familiar with, I'm just driving around and something pops up, like something could literally be 500 yards off my nose, and I may not know it's there. So I like having that pop in and letting me know there as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean the team that did Singapore have put this together, so. Potentially, I honestly don't know. I know the night lighting is absolutely stunning. I was flying around it this morning, and I actually think the night lighting looks better than Singapore, and it looks amazing in Singapore. But the night lighting here was awesome.
Well, we might try some night lighting there. So we just got joined by Real Dun NZ. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing fantastically well. And apparently, the reason they weren't included in London because 400 plus POIs looks like a mess when looking at the map. I'm like, fair call. But maybe if you just call out the hero assets, maybe for that one, because I know Brisbane doesn't have the POIs. I know that.
There's 18 POIs that we've developed, and I will need to bring up the list, which is to tab out, because I really can't pronounce them, let alone remember them off the top of my head.
I was going to say, apologies to any Taiwanese viewers. Incredibly sorry, because I'm going to do horrible things to your enunciation of your butcher the enunciations. We will absolutely butcher the enunciations. Let me just try and turn them on. Port Brisbane forever alone.
I honestly don't know.
Okay, so I'm going to turn
Okay, so here goes. Do you want to read these, or I'll read these?
I'll let you make a fool of yourself for once. I make a fool of myself tomorrow on the I'll make a fool of myself on the Nova app tomorrow. So I'll let you take the helm this time.
Thanks. So we've got Taipei 101, which is the iconic building, which is kind of the green building with the I call it slats going up. I'm really butchering this, but because it's an amazing building. You've got Taipei Nanshan Plaza, Taipei Landmark, Far Glory Financial Center, Taipei City Hall, Taipei World Trade Center, International Trade Building, the W Hotel Taipei, the Huanan Bank World Trade Building, Cathay Financial Center, Taipei Dome, Agora Garden, Kelty Group Headquarters, the National Dr. Sun Yat-sen Memorial Hall, the Chinese Petroleum Building, the President Enterprise Corporation Tower, Taipei Sky Tower, and the Fubon Group Xinyi Headquarters. So there's 18 POIs.
18 POIs, okay.
What we've also done is added a lot of flora around as well. So a lot of hand placed trees. So you'll see in some of the buildings that it's actually in real life they have trees planted on every level, like balconies, and we've done that as well.
Oh, nice.
What we'll do is we'll fly the same approach route that they did for the keynote speech, because as we come over the hills, you'll see the radio masts are placed, which they're not in the default sim. There's a school just over we come over the hills. We've added buses and try to make it feel more alive. There's a lot of static vehicles been placed in the actual district as well, so taxis and those kind of things. So yeah, we've tried to make it feel very much alive.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll hand over to you to guide us. So I think we are all assembled. We've been joined by Drew as well, which is great.
Drew's here. Awesome.
We'll make so. So VR is on. Cannot see chat. No worries at all. That's fine. We'll talk you through it, Drew. I was going to say we'll have to make sure that there's a paint kit released so we can make a purple one for him.
Have you not seen the floor in this thing?
I did notice the floor in that.
I was about to say, have you not seen the floor? Are you not entertained? Drew, are you not entertained? Drew and I were talking this morning actually, and it's very much. Have you seen the floor in this thing? He went, I love it. I love it. First thing I saw.
I was wondering if that was a subtle or a subtle or a less than subtle nod.
It does actually have a purple carpet in it. It's not quite as purple as this, I think. But I'm sure there's very much a subtle nod there with the texture artist to Drew, which I have absolutely no problem with. I love you guys and support you guys. So, any little thing we can do.
We are honoured. All right.
So
I was going to say, Dredd, he may not be able to see the chat because he is in VR rather than looking at chat windows. So he may not see the chat.
Okay, so plan here is we'll take off. Actually, we're going down the wrong side of the runway, but that's fine. We'll fly out the fat end of the windsock, not the thin end. But we'll take off. We'll do a right-hand bank, and then I'll lead us over to pretty much do the flight path they did in the opening keynote, because it's quite a nice flight path.
Fantastic.
So, I'll try and keep speed around 80 knots, and I'll try not to hit this aircraft that's coming barreling down the runway towards us.
Oof!
Oh! That's a nose flip.
Oh, that
hurt.
I don't think that's going to buff out. Hey.
Not quite. Wow. Impressive, but wow.
It was not you for once, Razor. It was not. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure there was.
That Pack X is going. Nope, no, we're not having that.
Oh, and he did it in one of my liveries too. Ouch.
Oh no. It's even worse.
Oh, it's funny, so incidentally, just a quick plug for one of my liveries, by the way. That's one of my liveries down there. Is that if you pick up the any of the A320 liveries from me for your A320, whether it be fly-by-wire or default, I also package in an AI livery for it as well, just for the AI model, because the AI model is slightly different. So a low poly but still high quality texture AI model is available to you as well. Alright.
I have to say, I've never flown this area in Microsoft, because I typically fly Southeast England, or one of my favourites is bush flying up in Canada. I can't remember the name of the airport I go from now. I think it's called Hart or something like that. Oh no, Gold it's called, and it's absolutely amazing. It's kind of bush flying along a river, and Steve and I flew that last weekend, and I flew with Ian a little time before and flew it. It's basically, I do it, it's like it's a 45-minute flight, and then you can land on a hill on the side of a mountain, take in the scenery, have your picnic, have your lunch, turn around, 45 minutes, fly back, and do some sandbar landings and touch and goes and things, and it's awesome, absolutely amazing.
Oh, that's awesome! Like, I must, because I love the Flight Sim Break crew, because they have a flight. Unfortunately, it's really, really early for me. It's about 4 a.m. my time, and I try to get up. I try to get to it when I can. They do sort of a lot of bush flying around sort of Alaska and Canada as well, and it's just amazing trips there as well.
Absolutely stunning. It's stunning up there, especially if you stick the snow on as well. It's very, very nice to fly that. And in the supercarb, it's, you know, the river I found. I'll find the details and I'll post it up to you so you can post it to the community. But you literally, it's like flying the rapids of a river. So the river is very windy, and in the supercarb you can just zoom along it and really have fun.
I remember, I think it was on launch day, we actually went up into, actually no, I think it was actually, no, I think, yeah, it wasn't launch day or not long after launch. We went up into Alaska, and we sort of went through the sort of winding sort of down there right on the water level, and it was just so much fun in the Super Cubs. Sorry, in the Carbon Cubs. No, I keep calling them Carbon Cubs. They're not, the X Cubs.
Yeah, that's the X Cub, yeah. So looking at this here, I've got my tracker working again, so I'm looking left, beautiful scenery, I can see so much, back to the front, and then off to the right is Xinyi District. I don't know if the POI markers are coming up yet.
They are not. It looks sadly like there are no POI markings for the Taiwan scenery. So that would be my suggestion. Because you can always, as you say, as you point out,
look at the view out that right way. Yeah. Look at the view that you've got in this cockpit. It's just.
And that's what's amazing about this. That was the other important question that I didn't ask before. Razor was wanting, because he's currently flying the Pipistrel upside down. Razor wants to know, can this aircraft fly inverted?
Yes, but it's not recommended. Let's just say it's a departure from normal flight parameters. It's not an aerobatic aircraft in any shape or form, but if you send me a screenshot of it, I'll be most impressed. Because it's definitely not designed to do it.
So, folks, just to let you know, folks, so while we are driving around here, if you are active in the chat, we will be doing a random draw during this flight, where we will be giving away 2 copies of the Optica today. So as long as you're active in chat, there's no particular code words or anything like that you need to worry about. But as long as you're active in chat, then we will be doing a random draw during this flight, or towards the end of this flight, to be able to give away 2 copies of this aircraft. So just make sure you're chatting away or asking your questions. We will be able to let you know.
Yeah, we just come around the back of this mountain, and we'll be on the same parameters of the flight path. So yeah, actually in default sim, as you come over this mountain and you look out, none of the stuff you're going to see now is there, and it's amazing. Just with 18 POIs and then a little bit of life. Breathe, is that the right word? Into the scenery around it.
It really does.
It just changes it.
Like, it's funny.
I remember looking at this. Sorry, I remember looking at this area, thinking, okay, yeah, we can really improve on this, because the default sim is just nothing there.
And that was something that I really noticed about Sydney, is that, you know, the Sydney cityscape, it has its challenges, but the big part is just adding those couple of key hero buildings in the Sydney CBD. Literally just completely revitalizes that scenery, because it's that whole situation, like when you spawn, when you part with sitting at the airport. Like, I know from, you know, flying out of Sydney a lot, you know, there's a particular set of, or shape of the skyline that I expect to see, and if I don't see it, then I don't feel like I'm in Sydney. And then with your Sydney cityscape, more than anything else, which, you know, it has its challenges, but that was a big thing that for me made it a must buy. It was because it adds those buildings in to give it that shape of that scenery.
But it's even things like, we're about to go through the middle of 2 radio towers here without purposely trying to crash into them. None of these radio towers are here either. Yeah, that's manually been placed by our team. And you think, well, why these aren't even here if they're part of the default, they're not part of the default scenery. So I'll try and keep it to 80 knots as we dive down.
That's right. I'm still sitting with the loitering speed. I'm just blown away by the scenery. I'm just loving this view, and I'm just like, this is just amazing.
So as we come over the top of a mountain, then we'll come over the top of a score. So again, buses have been put into the car parks and those kind of things. So it's actually amazing looking at the default sim with none of this stuff here, and then looking at what we've achieved.
And just seeing the tower, and it's not like it's the old like FSX like default sort of tower. It's the actual you've got the dishes, you've got the radio, you got the cell tower stuff on it as well. Like that's great.
The team have really pulled this off. It's absolutely stunning. It's amazing. And all of the I think most of the buildings, quite a few of the buildings have got parallax. Not going to say all of them. Quite a few of them have got the parallax thing. So we'll come down over here and we'll bank around over the conference center so the Nvidia banner comes into view. What it should do. It's like it's on a LOD. There it is, Nvidia Computex 2021. So that's where Computex was actually being held, just off my right wing. So it's like the terracotta.
Oh yeah, the ziggurat type building.
Yeah.
I love the little detail that's come through with all the. I'm probably a little high to see the. I think oh, there it is. That the LOD kicks in. There's the. Oh, that's product placement 101.
I'm gonna see if this may not work because it's not an aerobatic aircraft. But here we go. Yep, just made it. Just made it through. But the building I'm going to fly over now, you'll see all the trees placed on the balconies, which are manually hand placed.
Oh, we've got the western. Yeah, okay, we got.
Yeah, parallax on those buildings. I'm really throwing this about like an aerobatic aircraft, and it's not.
That looks suspiciously like a helipad to me.
Maybe.
Oh, and you're right, with all the trees actually on the different levels of the building.
Yeah. So these ones, that one's parallax, I can see there. Yeah, the team have really done an amazing job on this. I mean, I love all of our products. I was an Orbx customer before I started working at Orbx. And I've always loved their products, and I've always had. I think the first one, because we did a recent thing which was staff picks, so we all had to pick two of our favourite products, and I picked True Earth GB South for P3D because that was my first Orbx product, and it changed my sim experience because I was used to the default P3D wasn't that great. I couldn't recognise where I was flying. I was using, it was more IFR than VFR, and I love VFR flying. And then GB South just completely changed my flying experience. So that was my first pick. And then Maribel was an obvious choice for me because I go boarding there every year. So it was second choice. But even Maribel is just stunning as well. And this flies beautifully out of Maribel. The ceiling of the Optica is about.
I was going to say, it's about 14,000 feet, I think.
It's 40,000 feet, yeah. So flying this at Lowy or Maribel or any of the winter sports resorts. I was flying in Lowy yesterday in the Optica, and I was blown away because I love snow and I love mountains. Like, I want my snowboard. I want to go boarding now. and if a product can help you visualize that and think that, especially Maribel. I mean, that's why Maribel's in the trailer for Optica, because it was my choice.
Oh, yeah. So just got to look at that parallax in the hotel there. That's really well done. So there you go, Dread. The team's definitely picking up more parallax there. That's awesome.
And this is what I was saying earlier, is that every product we make, the next one will be better, the next one will be better, the next one will be better, and then we go back and we update what we've done already, because it's about community flying. It's about, I don't know how many of us are flying around here at the moment, probably 6 or 7, but to me this is what Microsoft has opened up for us. Multiplayer in P3D is so janky. FSX with the add-on stuff, so janky. To be able to have the ability to fly with your community is just amazing. And it's something at Orbx we are doing. We've got a new community manager, Sante, and my edict when he first came on was, I want you to do community flights. Okay, this isn't business development, there's nothing about it, but I want to do community flights, and I will be flying with them as well, because I want to do this.
I think that's a big part of it there, because it is such a community building thing, and I know that one of the challenges that this sim has at the moment is that, rightly or wrongly, of course, FSX had the inbuilt voice comms.
Yep.
And this is the one thing that I think this sim is currently lacking at the moment.
Yep.
Whereas I think that, but I guess my counter argument to that is that we've sort of got a bit of a different sort of environment at the moment with that. But I guess there still needs to be a way to communicate, because one of the things that I was amazed by when, for example, the Spitfire was launched, and I know. Rockview had the same experience here as well, is that when Spitfire was launched, you sort of jump in the Spitfire and start flying, and then within minutes you had like 2, 3, 4 other Spitfires all flying beside you. People you've never saw before, never know before, you're just all flying together. And you have no way to actually be able to sort of get in touch with that person again.
I think it'd be great if they could do a radio to radio thing, so I mean, obviously, things like today, you can post up that you're talking about it, and most of us use Discord or TeamSpeak these days anyway for comms. But having some kind of VoIP within the sim would be absolutely amazing. And whether it's, you're tuned to the same radio frequency, and you obviously don't want to clutter the radio frequency, so maybe you have the ability to switch to VHF or something. But again, depending on the radios that are in aircraft, and a lot of warbirds don't have radios. So if you're looking at a period aircraft, a lot of them don't actually have radios, or the old antiquated radios where you couldn't set the frequency because the frequency was set by the ground crew.
Yep, it was set by the ground crew, and you dealt with whatever was there.
No way to change it.
Yeah.
Yep, you got no way. Oh, Drew, I'm about to. Oh, that was close. That was amazing to see. Sorry, Drew just got across my canopy.
I was going to say, and you've got
awesome.
Razor, who's been very tightly following off your wing for quite a while now. Awesome. So that's been beautiful to watch the two of you. You just sort of doing that dance here for that one. That's been great.
I was going to say, if you want me to head off to land, then
I was going to say we might go check out the in-sim landmark, because we do have one here. 2 tin cans and a ball of string. I mean, it's always there. Let's fly over to where Rockview is, because that is one of the in the default sim ones. And then as I trim this aircraft out, I'm going to see if I can get it trimmed out to fly relatively straight and level, and then see if I can manage to simultaneously do one of these things here. Let's do that one. Hopefully I'm not going to do anything. Yeah, there you go, that's good. Alright. So what we're going to do is we're going to give away we're going to roll to give away our first Optica. Now, if you have the Optica already and Nightbot picks you, let us know and we'll re-roll it. So first one. Let's have a look. Oh, really? Come on, Nightbot, you can do this.
That's a nice building there, Rockview.
Apparently I should have opened this screen earlier, so it looks like we're not giving it away just yet. As I said, folks, make sure that you're active in the chat, so it's just really going to recognise anybody who's been active in the chat in the last 5 minutes. But probably, unfortunately, I didn't realise it's probably starting from now, so sorry about that. Yeah, so it's always when I'm trying to give stuff away, I swear, it's always when it's whenever I'm trying to give stuff away, it seems that it never likes doing that one. See, anybody would think that that's sarcasm there, Razor. By the way, I meant to say hello to Travis before as well. I saw that he posted in there as well, so Travis, if you're still here, hello, sorry, I did see your post before, but I did miss it, sorry. Yes, I was saying, yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm sort of just like, I am just nothing but, well, again, Els, you've known me for long enough to know that I just bumble my way through existence.
It's a good way to be. Why not? That's exactly the same.
Well, so I was going to say, Sten, we do also have a Fit Aviators channel in our Discord, so which you could always, if you're only half lying down, I suppose it could be part of it. It's really interesting actually to just branching back to what you were sort of saying, that you don't really fly in this area much, Els. That's one of the things that I love about this sim and having a bigger community and having things like landmark packs come out, is that it gives you a reason to fly places that you've never flown before. It's one of the reasons why I love Volanta and Sky Park.
Yeah. I mean, I've been looking at forums and things this morning. A lot of Taiwanese people saying, oh, it's amazing you've done this because you're bringing attention to our area, which typically most people wouldn't do. Would Orbx have looked at doing Taipei as a landmark pack? I honestly can't say yes or no because I don't know. But obviously, it's brought attention to typically, a community that do fly. Because it's a worldwide flight sim and they do fly there. So for them to be able to say, it's amazing, and to be able to see this, it warms my heart. It really does, because it's opening up potential areas that people typically wouldn't go and fly in.
I guess that's one of those things where when we look at various user groups and stuff like that, is that, and in some ways, especially for the Taiwanese as well, is unfortunately they're at the center of so many geopolitical challenges that they often get forgotten about for other reasons, and forgotten that they are the other people who, just like everybody else in the world, that want to be able to see their own backyard and have people explore and talk about their own backyard, and they never get that chance. So it is kind of cool for that one. All right, so
I can see why Sergio likes helicopters, because I know this isn't one, but the view from this is just. I know I'm going to keep coming back to it, but I'm amazed. I'm looking out. I've got a 36-inch widescreen, so I've got a big range of view across my monitor, and it's just. I love it. It's just visually stunning.
It is really is. Okay, let's wander over towards. Representation, no, absolutely right. Representation is really important, and of course that's and that applies not just for countries, but for different diverse groups of various different. Of course, being Pride Month, of course, being Mother Month as well, is that representation. I mean, and it's funny actually. A complete tangent here while we talk about representation. Is I remember we had a workplace discussion recently where. People were talking about, what can we do for some community of people wrecking the brains? And I said, look, fundamentally for me, and I said, go reach out to the diabetics in the community, diabetics in schools. And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, okay, so when I was diagnosed as a diabetic, it was literally my 13th birthday present. Now, my life, I'd sort of planned it out. I was going to join the Air Force or fly somehow. I was going to go and fly. My parents were commercial pilots and military pilots. So for me, that was my path. That's where I was going. Of the 4 occupations you can't do as a diabetic, one of them is being a pilot, one of them is being in the military. So I was devastated. I was gutted, and we won't talk about the dark places that I went to after that. But the really important thing is I said that if I'd known that I could still go into that industry doing training or doing engineering, then that would have put me on a very different path, and I probably would have got to my career part very much earlier. So yeah, absolutely, representation is incredibly important. So yeah, exactly right, Razor. Representation is huge, not just for people's enjoyment, but just for everything, really.
That's what Fly July is about, and this year very much is focusing on young generation getting interested in aviation. I've got a lot of interviews with pilots, ATCs, even VATSIM 8 controllers about what got you involved in aviation. If my son who wants to get into mechanical engineering wants to get into aerospace mechanical engineering, I'd be over the moon because it's aerospace. Yep. And I love it. I wanted to join the RAF. I completely flunked on my GCSE exam, so I couldn't join the RAF. But I'm doing the next best thing, which is making products for flight sims that I love flying in.
Yep.
And
exactly right.
Developing Optica has definitely not been a chore for me. I'm not involved in the airport side of things. I do a lot of things outside of what Orbx typically do. So things like Unreal LED projection screen. We're working on projects at the moment for things like Mandalorian. So not for Mandalorian, but it's the LED projection screen that Mandalorian uses. To me, if I can work in those kind of things, which is completely different to what we do as a core business, and I've got a dedicated team that work on all of that, again, so it doesn't affect our core business, then that's amazing because I'm learning skills in Unreal, which I've never learned before. So every day for me working at Orbx is also a learning day.
Nice. Awesome.
Which is amazing.
So, I was going to say, we just rolled our first one, and Monsieur Rockview is the winner of that one. So, Rockview, congratulations. We will be in touch later with all the details you need to get your aircraft for this sim. So, we will re-roll that next one in a couple of minutes. So, let me do that one now. Okay. So we'll let the everything reset a little bit while a few more people come back into the eligibility queue, and we'll re-roll. But yeah,
those Drew's broken away from you. I think you're heading towards a mountain.
I'm not. See, I'm fully in control of this one. It's fine. It's fine.
Probably come tassel me. I'm just looking at. I'm trailing you, so I'm doing a leading pursuit on you, and the sunlight's just come over to the left side of my canopy, and there's all my thumbprints smudged all over it.
I was about to say, what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to head back towards the POIs now, but I'm going to switch us to a night flying, because I want to see, I'm curious to see what this aircraft looks like at night, but also to see this mysterious night lighting that you've been talking about.
I want to put your panel switch on.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm about to switch to put the panel lights on. So let's got the panel lights on. So let's change our time. And this, by the way, I have to say that. Are you right there, First Officer? This sim also looks so much better at night, than any other sim that I've seen. It's just amazing at night. Yeah, that's so cool looking at that at night. And I'm gonna have a look at the Optica from outside. Actually, let's have a look at the Optica from outside. Let me reset that. There we go. And I've got to admit that one of the things that I love about this sim is how the modelling and the PBR reflect the streetlights. That's just nuts. It's so insane to be able to see that as well.
Oh, I need to switch tanks. I wonder why I'm leaning left all the time.
I was going to say, that probably is why I'm leaning right, actually, because I think I changed my text today. Folks, make sure that you are staying active in the chat, because we will be rolling for a new the second winner for our giveaway tonight. We will be rolling for that very shortly. But yeah, I just love seeing how that sort of soft glow, and how the street lights actually affect the environment around you, just like they do in real life. And it's something that no other sim I've come across can actually sort of come up to. And wow, do those POIs look awesome with that lighting.
Yep.
Holy hell! You guys really have learned after Singapore.
That's what I say. It's a learning experience, because I think Sim Update 5, there's actually quite a lot of things they've said they're doing to it. I can't remember the list because I only saw it literally 2 minutes before we went on the stream. But if they're improving the lighting, then that will improve the look of aircraft with the lighting, and the look of airports with the lighting, and the look of everything with it. It's just, I remember being at Cosford, what was it, 3 years ago now? Honestly, can't remember. And I remember Lamina standing saying, "This is our night lighting. Look how amazing it is." And we kind of just went, "Well, that's pretty. That's nice."
Oh my god! I can just imagine the shattered look on Austin's face when you said that too. Yeah. He would have just been I
didn't say it out loud. I wasn't that mean. I didn't say it out loud. I wasn't working for Orbx at that time. But yeah, I think. I mean, look at Taipei 101. It just looks stunning. Absolutely stunning. And even the parallax as well. Parallax at night time is awesome.
I just realized that that wasn't just like, that's, oh wow, that's like water flows coming in. That's nuts.
Yep.
And I love, you're right, the parallax, the use of the parallax here, and it's funny actually because I really think that the parallax has really changed a lot of the dynamics of 3D modeling in how it's done. Like, I think it's an incredible thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be honest, I don't understand it. Like, I've done a couple of tutorials on it, like try and recreate it, and I'm like, yeah, I got nothing. I got no idea how you're doing it, but it looks so good. So it's funny actually. It's interesting actually having you here actually, Ellise. This might be a good question for you. Is that one of the questions that I see coming across a lot was, and a lot of people ask me in the comments of the Nova app every week, is why do developers spend so much time, and to be quite honest, how many polys they spend on the interiors of airports? So what are your thoughts on that, especially given that we have parallax now?
I'll give my personal thoughts on it. I would rather they didn't, because I'm chugging away on a 1080 here because Nvidia haven't given me a 3080 yet.
Hey, Nvidia, if you're listening, Nvidia, you can send a couple of 3080 Ti's this way. You know, just
all of these, everything. As soon as Taipei came out, it's like, wait, Orbx and Nvidia, can you get me a 3080? I was like, guys, you're in line. Like, who's going to be first for a 3080? Seriously, even the development team. I was like, you think you guys are going to get it before I get one? That's not going to happen. But I mean, all joking aside, to me, as a flight simmer, running on, I mean, my PC's probably 5-6 years old now, and I reckon all the components in it are probably $2,500. So it's a beefy PC. It was state of the art when I built it, and now it's completely outdated, completely old, but it still runs Microsoft beautifully on. I think I'm an Ultra still.
Yep.
But if I come into an airport and I'm landing at an airport that I've flown into, I don't want to be chugging along at 20 frames a second, especially in VR. So to me personally, I wouldn't model the interior of airports, because the technology you can do with parallax now, it's not the same. And yes, it's pretty for drone camera shots, it's pretty for drone marketing shots, but realistically, who's flying a drone around an airport? You're buying an airport to fly into. You're not buying an airport to sit in a drone camera for 2 minutes before you go and do a flight. So is it a waste? Personally, and I'm not talking from an Orbx point of view here, it's my personal opinion, I actually think it is a waste.
Yep.
And you could do more, add more environments to the airports. That's why I love Lowy. I love flying out of Lowy, because I'm parking up and you've got all of the airport vehicles are parked up inside Lowy. Now, you don't need to model the inside of Lowy to do that. You model partly the inside of a garage and have the butt of a vehicle sticking out of it. And it's, to me, spend the poly time and spend the poly amount that you have adding areas outside of the airport. A lot of people don't understand this, and I'm working on a project with the client right now, and they're not a pilot. And I said, please, can I speak to one of your pilots that we're doing this project for? Because as a pilot, and as you know as well from the training point of view, when pilots are doing pattern approaches around airports, or they're transitioning across country between things, they're looking for visual landmarks. They're typically not IFRing. They're looking out the window and they're Mark 1 eyeballing, saying, there's the church. I need to turn 60 degrees of that church. There's the pond I have to turn over, or the lake I have to turn over, or the tree line is here.
It's the gap in the tree line. One of the last training programs we had to model the gap in the tree line, because that was the initial point they used. Yep,
absolutely. And a lot of airport developers don't understand that, and I love the fact that Orbx do. And if they don't, I'm quite vocal, and I'll say, I think we should possibly be looking at this, because that's where, I come into London City Airport. I use SkyDemon. I have a desk-mounted iPad thing, and I have SkyDemon on there, and I fly the exact route coming in. When I plan my route in Microsoft, the Microsoft marker's already there. The citizen style's already there. I make sure my sky dimming is synced up with it, and I fly the exact route coming into London City Airport on ILS 27 every single time.
Yep.
But I'm not looking at my sky demon, and I'm not looking at the IFR in my cockpit. I'm visually flying it. And saying, okay, I know at this particular point there's a power station, and I need to be 3 miles southeast of that power station. So to me, spend your polys on the extra detail.
Yeah.
You know, it's classic example for here for Taipei. We've done 18 POIs. It's not an airport. It's 18 POIs, and they're stunning POIs. However, the team have put all of the extra little bits in there to bring it to life, because the default sim doesn't bring it to life. You've got a few cars driving up and down roads, but it's the extra little details. To me, spend your resources on doing that, and spend your time developing outside of the airport, and that's what Orbx do. You're not just buying a runway and the control tower and the terminal building. You're getting all the extra little bits outside of it as well.
Yep, I think that's a good point there. And I just re-rolled to the second one. So Sten 1954, you are the lucky winner of our second copy.
Well done.
So yeah, but I think that's a really great point there, Els, is that you're right. It's about that. It's about looking at what's important. And I think that sometimes that a few people have forgotten that, you know, yes, okay, yes, they look cool in publicity and marketing shots. And like I know, Belgio, and I'm going to call you out here, is that in the Giovetzky, I want to say it's the Reagan International. Oh, do you already have it there, Sten? If you already have it, let me know so I can re-roll.
I just texted him saying, well done, Steve, you just won an Optica.
Right, okay, there you go, right. So that's good, he's got it? Okay, well, that's good, that's fine. Do I have to re-roll is my question.
Yes.
Yes, okay, alright, let me re-roll.
One, he'll get it from me anyway, so it's hilarious.
Alright, and there we go. Razor, congratulations, you are the winner. So now, Razor, you can find out if it flies inverted or not.
There you go. I tell you, I'm going to give this a test. I'm going to put it back to daytime, and let's see if I can get this thing on its upside down.
But yes.
I haven't actually done it before.
Alright, okay, alright, that's all of us, we're going to try that now. Hang on. Alright, now I'm going to have to try and do it.
You can barrel roll it easily, but definitely can't loop it. It's not got power to do a loop.
I was going to say, it definitely doesn't have the power to do a loop with this Lycoming.
Right,
have it. Alright, let's
get away from the hills and the towers.
I was going to say, I'm going to need to get some altitude for this. Inverted is fun. I thought I did see you, Craig, is flying inverted there for yours. Alright.
Okay, is it doing it? Have we got enough push? Yeah, just about. Just about.
Alright.
Yeah, it is. I'm having to really push forward and really trim it, but it can't maintain it.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
Just don't overspeed it. You'll have a lot of troubles.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But it is possible.
Oh,
it is possible. Not for prolonged flight.
I was going to say, I thought Craig is nice and good to know. Good to know. After we saw my attempts at trying to fly inverted or something the other day, he was like, yeah, no, I think I might leave that for a while. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Power pull up, then roll. That's right.
Yeah.
It's been a hot minute before I've done any aerobatics like that. Remember, I try to teach people how to fly within the envelope, not outside of it. So yeah, it's sorry. That's just
What's interesting is I've actually read a lot of crash reports on Optica because there's been a lot of crashes with it. Because when it gets into a store, it's actually easy to recover, but you have to be very quick at recovering it. And it's interesting. If I'm developing an aircraft, I want to understand crash reports. I want to understand what went wrong to see if we can model that in the sim. Because to me, that's the level of realism I don't find in a lot of aircraft. World War II warbirds, there's a lot of warbirds being developed for a lot of different sims, and I find a lot of them aren't realistic because that's not how a warbird flies. or they've put a brand new radio system in, which is obviously is possible, but you're saying it's a 1940s period aircraft, then keep it 1940s period. Don't stick a Garmin slap bang in the middle of it.
So I think I know who we're talking about here for this one. So a certain developer released some publicity shots of their upcoming P-51 Mustang with a G1000 in it, and I'm like, no, I don't care if you put it in there as a hidden button. No, you don't put a G1000. I figured out why I was doing that one. I still had flaps 20. That probably would be something to do with that. That's probably not going to help me with that one, I think.
yeah.
I was like, right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of time at Duxford, developing P40. A lot of time climbing over the P40 at Duxford, and it has a modern radio system in it. So you make a conscious decision as a developer. Do you keep it authentic to the original built airframe, or do you replicate the real life airframe that's out in the world right now? Yeah. And with P40, we had complete autonomy. We could literally ring the guys at Dux and say, can we come and take some photos tomorrow? Or they'd ring us and say, oh, we've actually got it up on the stands at the moment. Do you want to come and film the landing gear coming up and down? Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that. A lot of aircraft developers don't have that availability to do that side of things, and with Optica we didn't. I mean, certainly during COVID we couldn't go and see any of the Opticas. There are some Opticas. There's one in the US, a couple in the UK, and a couple in Australia, but with COVID not a chance. So we have to make our next best guess as to how it looks, how it feels, how it flies. We're fortunate that one of the testers was actually an observer for the Optica, so they gave us a lot of feedback. One of the people I know flew the Optica in the 1980s, so I asked them for feedback. And you can scour the internet for all of these kind of things. And I think one of the things I'd also want to say here is if there are any lone people out there in their bedroom, in their living room, in their lounge, whatever, it doesn't matter, that are interested in developing, get into it. And this is where I think developing something that's freeware is a good way to get into the industry, because it gets you noticed by bigger companies, it gets you noticed by bigger developers. Join things like flight sim development groups, because you'll learn a hell of a lot from them.
And I will,
YouTube for videos and stuff.
I will 100% back that. So I mean, I literally my current job I have because of freeware content that I was putting out. For texture base and for missions that I would put out for FSX back in the day and for flight back in the old days. I got a lot of experience in the freeware market, and the freeware area is how I got my start and my interest. And then once I got into that, I then moved into, I got noticed by developers and got knocked on the door and said, we would like you to come do stuff for us. So, just watching the chat here. So apparently, Stan, I'm glad I can provide you plenty of entertainment. I'm glad I can provide you plenty of entertainment there. And it does a nice hammerhead. Yeah, I did notice the rudder is fairly effective.
Yeah, on that envelope, she's twitchy. Very, very twitchy. But that's the thing.
I managed to barrel. I managed to roll it. It was not a barrel roll, not an aileron roll, and it was ugly as sin. But I did a roll on it. I will take that. I will take that and land before I wreck anything.
Yeah. Aileron rolls, she'll drop very, very quickly.
Oh, does she ever? Does she ever?
Yeah. So a barrel roll is the way to do it. And again, at the moment, we're using the default sim store mechanics. We haven't got the ability to change those right now. We're hoping that that's something Asobo and Microsoft allow us to do in the future. So I've seen people say, it doesn't store properly. Well, we can't change that. I mean, we could develop a complete external flight model for this. 6-12 months development to do that. As a business, I'd rather get the products out that are as real as possible within simulator limits. I'll always say within the sim limits, graphically and flight model and everything else. Within sim limits, and provide more products to people rather than one every 2 years.
Can I also I actually want to pick up on that as well within sim limits as well. I want to pick up on that because, as I said, like for those who might be new to my channel and might be new to me watching, by the way, and Vertical Sim, by the way, hello and welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing fantastically well. simisms is a legitimate term in training, in pilot and flight training, is that there are certain things that even the vaunted level D sims that I hear all these pretentious people talk about, when they're trying to say that their home setup with prepared is exactly the same as a level D simulator. Hint, pro tip, it's not. Anyway, moving on. So the thing is that as I said, I work with the full-fledged sims that they're used by aviators, both civilian and military. And there are things called simisms, where there are things that the sim does that the aircraft doesn't. And you get briefed on those, and you get made aware of them, so that when you climb into the real aircraft, you know that the real aircraft doesn't do exactly the thing that it does in the sim. And I will make no secret of this, that I almost blew an engine because of a simism. That I almost overcooked a PT6 because the spool time on the multi-million-dollar sim that I was using was different from the spool time of the actual aircraft. I was used to, from my sim training, I was used to a spool up time of around about 15 seconds. Yeah, no, in the real aircraft it's 6.
Wow.
So that was almost a very expensive mistake.
Yeah, very. I mean, that's one of the things I did with the RAF, is very much teach them about negative learning, because what we said is you're looking at using this virtual reality trainer, VRT as we called it, and the VRT was about learning primary effects and controls, secondary effects and controls. So you pull the stick back, what does it do? You push the stick forward, what does it do? Ouch, that was a hell of an impact. Wow.
Ow! I was going to say, and we got it live on stream too.
Yeah, awesome. And that's one thing that is very important to teach, as you say, is the negative effects of simulator training. Because, I think in terms of flight modeling, nothing else matches it as TCS does, because you're programming the flight model completely from scratch. You have to use Kirchhoff equations, you have to do complete fluid dynamics for TCS, rather than using a standard set of either tabular parameters or a set of standard guidelines that you're essentially changing the parameters for to create that flight envelope. DCS is amazing for that level of fidelity for flight modeling, but you've got to understand, and the person that's programming it has to understand fluid dynamics, which is complete computational math, which goes over my head absolutely massively. But you can still get negative learning from that, in exactly the same way. Is I was talking to Kinetic at the time, and I can talk about it because they've released it publicly what they were doing. They were looking to make a simulator for landing the Joint Strike Fighter on an aircraft carrier. So they initially wanted an AI JSF coming in, but then they decided, no, we won't do AI, we'll do a pilot flying it in. And what they wanted to simulate was the guy on the tractor. So the aircraft has landed, it's parked up on the deck, and then the guy on the tractor moves it about. And what they wanted to simulate is if the guy on the tractor goes too far, the aircraft will fall over the back of the carrier and into the water. What they didn't account for is that the aircraft didn't have a collision model. So it hit the water and just went straight through the water. And it went onto the carrier and went straight through the carrier.
Well, that's awkward.
And I was like, it was literally that. It was like, well, that's pretty awkward. I mean, it landed perfectly because the carrier had everything there. But the C they were using in the simulator they developed didn't have a collision mesh on it. So the aircraft literally just fell straight through. And what they wanted to also do was almost like a SAR. So you had the helicopters going to try and rescue the people in this stricken thing, but it didn't exist. It just completely fell through everywhere. So, I think that's negative learning is something, especially when you're training, that's a huge thing you've got to consider. And that's why...
Yeah, exactly. Negative learning is a huge thing that you discuss with the client about that, and that's where I talk about all these people who talk about, prepared gets used for flight training. No, it doesn't. Like, straight up, it doesn't. It does not get taught for flight training. It gets used for cockpit procedure awareness. Training, cockpit awareness training. It is not used for flight training at all. No. You do not fly it. You use it for systems modeling and systems training, and they are always using third-party, like, external systems. They're not using the default systems. So, no, exactly. All right, let's set this one here. Let's shut this one down. All right, so
Doors, get some air in here.
I was gonna say, I need to open these doors. Okay, let's
You should hear the hydraulic system as well. So when you open the door, you hear the hydraulic pump opening it, or the whatever it's called. It's hydraulic, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. So it's one of the things that I actually miss out of the default aircraft, because I can see where they've got the doors modelled, but they don't allow you to open them. It makes me so sad.
Oh, that's a nice buzz.
That was good.
Yeah, it's the little details for me. It's that's so I'm a flight sim pilot. If I'm going to develop an aircraft, whether for any sim, whether it's myself developing aircraft in the past or Orbx developing aircraft, it has to give me entertainment.
Yes. And this is why I talk about this ad nauseum here in our streams, is because we also need to that it is an entertainment engine at the end of the day. Now, if you source your entertainment from role playing, being an airline pilot who follows. That is an incredible sound, isn't it, when they come zipping over the top?
It is, yeah.
If you derive your entertainment from role-playing, being an airline pilot and flying to schedules, then that's fine. Like, that's how you're deriving your entertainment. But that's no less valid than somebody who jumps into what we regularly do here on the streams, where we just jump into an airplane and just fly along and see what happens. So yeah, it's and that's why I always talk about this, is that we have to like, and it's just an interesting thing. It's just the fragile masculinity that exists in this hobby. Always, it's just hilarious. Like it's just, oh dear God. Anyway,
I quite often read forums, Facebooks, and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, why everyone is valid to their opinion. Absolutely get it, but. If I've got an opinion, I'll speak my opinion, but I'll also listen. I'll be open to others' opinions. They might be wrong, but I'll listen to them and open to their opinion. And I see so many people, no, you're wrong. It's like, well, no, that's how I think, and I'm allowed to think. Thank you.
Yeah. Sten, so this is not one of my liveries, but one of the things that I have to say about what I love about this is the fact that the registration on the outside of the aircraft is dynamic, so that. Oh, yeah. So my call sign that I use in Sim is Nova24. So I was literally, and I saw this to Else before we went live, that I actually literally sat here and clapped because I was so excited about this. Is that I punched in, because I'd seen all the promo shots and I thought that's fine. So I did my usual thing. I put my call sign in, and then I loaded this aircraft up, and went okay, and looked at the outside, and I actually saw my call sign there on the tail boom. And I literally sat here and clapped, because I'm used to every other third-party aircraft developer where they don't use dynamic registrations. Now, that is a...
unlucky, man.
That is a holdover from... That's a holdover from FSX days, and probably a holdover from FS9, actually, is where... you just did not use dynamic registrations. Like, they were always available in the SDK. You could use them if you wanted to, but it was just an unwritten rule in the developer community. And you'd remember this, Els, is that it was an unwritten rule in the developer community where you did not use dynamic registrations. I never understood why. Yeah, I never understood why. But I remember...
It's like right now. Sorry, right now. I mean, I can't see your reg because the sim isn't displaying it to me. And that's something, all I'm seeing is kind of a grey sticker.
Yeah.
And that's something I really hope they bring in, because,
yes.
As you and I spoke about, Drew's in the same livery I am. We've both got the Orbx skin, but I wouldn't know who he is because I can't see his registration and he can't see mine. And it's like, please that's the little detail for me, is if you're doing multiplayer flight, you want to be able to see the reg of other aircraft. You can hear them on the ATC, but you can't see the reg.
And I think that's one of those things where again, it's one of those small quality of life things I'd like to see this sim sort of grow with over the time there as well. Yeah. I think Rockview, I think that's kind of what I'd like as well, is that if you're not going to have, and Rockview just put in the chat here that he'd prefer if the registration area was transparent rather than being a white or a grey box. And I kind of agree that if for whatever reason they can't have that data transmitted across the multiplayer layer, like I understand that, but at least make it so that that layer is transparent. So that when I'm looking at the other aircraft, I'm not seeing it there. That's fine.
I mean, it's that level of realism. Some people won't care. They just don't care about that kind of thing. But if I'm doing a multiplayer flight with friends or community, I want to do a lot more community streaming. And we're doing these kind of things. I'd love to be able to see the reg, because you can use it. I mean, typically my reg is G-Ls. That's what I typically fly. Obviously, I'm in VH-ORX right now, which is the Orbx reg that we use. But I'd love to be able to see that, because most people will customize their reg to their own name or call sign or wherever it happens to be. And you don't, especially with name tags off, it's difficult to see who's doing what.
And yeah, that is something that, and especially if they're not going to allow us to be able to have a hotkey binding to turn name tags on and off like we used to be able to do in F6 and Prepare. That is one thing that I do miss. All right, folks. So as I said, we are going to move on to one final element tonight. One final element. So I did allude to before that we are giving away, and thanks very much to Els for this, is that we are giving away 3 copies of the we are giving away 3 words are hard. We are giving away 3 copies of the Optica, so we've given away 2. The third one, however, is going to take a bit of a challenge to everybody. So this one is all about paying it forward, and I am a huge supporter of this idea, and I think it's great. So not only do you get the aircraft with the Optica, you also get, and we're going to jump in and have a look at this now, you also get a bush trip and a landing challenge. So with the aircraft, as I said, you get a bush. So much like we've seen this before. Like we saw Iris Simulations released 3 bush trips with their Jabiru, and with Big Radial Simulations with their P40, they planned a bush trip, but that is coming out, by the way, in a patch, I believe, next week. So keep an eye out for coming for that. So with this as well, with the Optica, that we've got a bush trip, which I believe is a trip around Biggin Hill, I think. Is that correct there, Els?
Yep. So the bush trip is taking off from Biggin, heading almost due north up to the Thames Barrier, and then essentially flying along the Thames. So if you have EGLC installed, Orbx EGLC, you'll obviously see that. If you have the London City Pack, you'll obviously see that, but you don't need them to be able to fly the bush trip because it's default sim. But obviously you'll get the best viewing experience with the Orbx products there out of the Optica, obviously. And then it's heading north up and landing at Elstree.
Right, so that's
about a 45-minute flight, I think.
Yeah, we just pulled out the data here, so it looks like it's 46 nautical miles, so about 50 minutes is what it sort of estimates there. I really like the bush trips have a nice flight. That's nice.
Yeah.
But along with that, you also get a landing challenge. So that is going to form part of the... This is how we're going to give away the third Optica. Now, this is and else I have to say this is really wonderful, is that it's all about paying it forward. So what we're doing is that this is going to be open to anybody who owns the Optica. And we're going to open it up for a week. So your entry has to be in by no later than 8 p.m, so 2000 Australian Eastern Standard Time next Saturday. I will be creating a channel for you to put your screenshots of of your score. The idea is that do the landing challenge, post your score in our community Discord, and then we will give a copy. As I said, you have to do it in the Optica, and then the person who wins it, who gets the highest score, gets to choose who they want to give a copy of the Optica to. As I said, so open to anybody who owns the Optica, or anybody, if you pick it up between now and Saturday, you're able to enter in, and you can actually then grab you get a chance to be able to give a copy of the Optica to anyone that you choose to give it to. Because we want to do it as a pay it forward, because we are. And Elsa, I'm so excited to be able to share this with you, because for you being able to offer this for us, because I think this is this truly embodies everything that I know that you and I both try and create in our greater flight simulation community.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's the same with Orbx. It's all about paying it forward. Whether that's B-Dubs doing video streams on how to make airports, whether that's whatever, you pay those skills forward, you pay that learning forward. So, I think this was absolutely something I want to do, and something we'll be doing going forward as well. Anyway, but it's there. Just to say that my score for the landing challenge is 1,217,781. So when you put that channel up, I'll put my screenshot there. That's the one they need to beat.
Well, let's see how the streamer can do, because the streamer I'm pretty sure is going to be pretty terrible at this. So as that, folks, so I'll be
trim. Don't fly it in.
don't fly it in. Don't fly it in. Okay, all right. Yep. All right. Okay. So test time exactly. Yeah, testing. Oh dear God. All right.
I've got to watch the stream now.
Oh. See, this feels like Challenge Tuesday. So by the way, so we do Challenge Tuesday here normally, where
cool.
every Tuesday we actually do landing challenges here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So lately we've been doing community ones because there's a tool that creates
awesome.
Landing challenges. So we've been doing a few of those lately, and it's been rather interesting to do. So
you're a dab hand at this. Then you've got no problem. You've nailed this. You've got it. I think the last stream we did, we tried to do a landing challenge on a strip in the middle of a mountain somewhere, which is quite interesting.
Listen, no, oh wow, okay.
There you go. Downwind, flaps, 1,000 feet, flaps. There you go. There's the instructions.
See, it's fine. Belgier is like, see what she said? Just trim it out, bruh. Just trim it out. Trim it out. Uh-huh.
The one thing I have noticed for this, which we're looking into, is I can't quite understand why, but as you spawn in, you hit fly, it really jolts the nose upwards. So it's something we are going to look at.
Okay, we noticed that we noticed a couple of landing challenges recently. We're slightly buggy with that one. Predictions have started. Oh, this is interesting. This is a new tool. Who triggered this? Rockview, is this you? Uh-oh. Can somebody put my prediction in there that says no? All right. Oh, it really does put my nose up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, what have we got? Okay. Alright. Downwind.
So a little tip for this one is stall speed, flaps up is 59 knots. I think stall speed with flaps fully down is around 45 to 48, something like that. I typically do base leg at 65, turn final 60, and suddenly throttle idle at threshold, and obviously trimming for that in every single turn you're doing and those kind of things. So as you're turning base, then you'll lose the speed, and then as you're turning final, you'll lose the last little bit of speed. And I typically aim for touchdown between 55 and 60 knots. Let's say trimmed out.
Trim it out.
I remember flying with a friend of mine, and he was kind of instructing me, and it just drilled into my head: trim.
Yep. No, absolutely. Like, I remember landing in Seattle. It was all just about trim and power. And in fact, it's funny actually. I remember the first. Again, as I said, I always lament about. I know, Els, you lament about F-Flight Sim World, but for me, I actually lament more. I lament Microsoft Flight, because Microsoft Flight for me.
I love that.
Microsoft Flight, it was yes, okay, you know, people have said, "Oh, it's just a game." It's like, well, actually, no. Like, there was a really detailed sim under there as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and like the fact that things like, you know, the trees moved with the breeze, and the
yeah,
amount the
yeah,
tree moved was based on
yeah,
the wind velocity as well. Like stuff like that, stuff that we only see in prepared now, and
yeah.
only in certain areas with speed trees. So, okay.
And that was my introduction to the Icon A5, and I love
Yep.
flying that thing. And obviously, when most first came out, I was like, Icon, oh my god,
Oh, I know, I know.
wow.
That was my thing. As soon as I saw there was an Icon A5 coming, I was like,
Yeah,
uh oh,
yeah.
okay, I am way short on this, and she doesn't like porpoise. She's gonna porpoise.
Power, power, power. Yeah, you're
Oh,
hand flying it. Technically,
oh,
you can
oh,
trim it. Is that a wing gong?
oh. Yep. Oh dear.
Amazing, amazing. So
Take
how
two.
do we say for Eurovision that's just gone nil point?
Oh my god, we need to have a flight simulation version of Eurovision.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, you're going again. Good, good.
your prediction result is no. Yeah, that will not buff out. Absolutely not. No, it won't.
Oh wow.
Mm.
So I think everyone could beat your first score.
Actually, so I think it was. I can't remember. It was. Oh, where was it? We were doing landing challenges somewhere, and we. I think I got 2 points. Like
Wow.
literally, it was one of the genuine. I think it was when they were having some bugs with connectivity on one of the servers, and yeah, I literally got my point. It was 2 points, and I was like, oh, that's bad.
That's really good.
All right, let's go round two. All right, trimming out. Okay, 500 feet. It's just one of the interesting things about it is it's almost actually a bit weird doing the circuit with this because you spatially, because it's such a bulbous canopy, it's a very different set of spatial awareness.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
okay,
And I've virtually flown into Biggin in every sim through my entire 20 whatever years it is. So it's for me it's the visuals as well, and there's a lot of visuals missing from Microsoft Flight Sim. So
yeah, it's interesting because Microsoft Flight Sim it does have this interesting balance. It's this interesting halfway because in some ways it is incredibly visually accurate, and in other ways it's also not.
yeah, yeah,
Which is where, of course, you know, developers like yourself come into it as well.
yeah. Well, that's the thing for me. It's it's like I'd love flying from Biggin Hill. It's not correct for me. So it's kind of like, well, can we add Biggin Hill onto our developer list? Obviously, we've got a huge list of airports and things. But I then look at it and say, actually, if I look at it from a biz dev point of view, what else could I do that's at Biggin Hill that could go along with Biggin Hill? For every product my team is involved in, obviously Optica is different because it's an aircraft for Microsoft Flight Sim, but the other products we're developing in, we're using them for multiple purposes. I'm having something developed right now for Unreal, which I want to bring into Microsoft Flight Sim, because then it's a multi-purpose thing. And that, to me, that's good business, but also it opens up the opportunity of what can be done for a particular sim. And the world is the oyster in Microsoft Flight Sim. There's so
Oh,
much you can
absolutely.
do. It's looking good. Small movements.
That's going to be heavy.
Beautiful. Little long, but it was good. Don't forget to brake as much as you can because it reduces points for the distance you travel. I don't know why it does that.
1.2. 1.2. I will take that.
Did you beat me?
Oh, wait. Did I beat you?
Did you beat me? 1, 2. You SOB. You did. There you go. You went to beat.
I just had to wreck the aeroplane first before I could actually get onto it. So there you go.
There you go. You beat the dev. Let's do a beat the dev day.
You should have put another prediction up there, Rocky. Thank you very much for the first time around, though. It was the A320. It was one of our A320 landings where it was an awful. Yeah, it was a. Actually, no. I think it was Lowy. I think it was Lowy in the 7.4. It was either Lowy in the 7.4 or Japan in the A320 where we got like 2 points. It was hilarious. Wow. That was absolutely hilarious. Wow. That one. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, Japan was the perfect flyby where literally I stayed about 5 feet off the runway.
Oh, wow.
The whole length of the runway, and I'm like, how do I put this thing on the ground? This is why I don't fly tube liners.
But actually, there's a lot of comments I read this morning, because obviously people have got this overnight. A lot of people saying it's very floaty to put it down onto the ground. And actually, I spent, I think, 5 hours on Monday purely doing touch and goes, not doing the landing challenge, but just doing touch and goes to test it all. And I didn't find it floaty at all because I'm trimming it. And it's power and trim management. If you hand fly it, yeah, it's going to be floaty, but any aircraft is.
No, exactly right. And that's something that I think a lot of people, again, I suppose it's part of that conversation to have with various people and various users and that are used to either... And I will say it's that people who are used to flying, or rather not flying, or used to just flying games like sim games like FSX and Prepared and X-Plane, that they think that it's all about Sigma. It's actually not. For those of us like yourself, Els, and myself who've actually got real life flying time, it's about power and trim. And then again, just sort of circling back to the discussion about Microsoft Flight, that was I clearly remember. So the introduction to Microsoft Flight when you first launched it. You got dropped into it. Your tutorial flight was you were flying in the Icon A5, and you had to do the balloons. You had to sort of, go through rings around, like underneath or above hot air balloons. But then you had to land, and you had the VI, your instructor pilot there was all that she said. Said hands off the stick. She's like, you control everything with power and trim. That's it. And that little nugget alone was like, for me, that straight away said this sim is so much further ahead of any of the others. When X-Plane 10 was out at the time, I'm pretty sure X-Plane was still in version 9. FSX was old even then, and it's like this sim's already light years ahead because the first lesson it's teaching you is it's not about flying the stick; it's about power and trim. And having had real world time by that point as well, I was like, well, there you go. So
and that's what I love about the sim is you've got your tube liner pilots and even your biz jets. I quite often fly the biz jet, and I'll do, if I've got a couple of hours spare, it's relaxing to do that. But in the citation, you've got a very narrow view, and okay, you might be at 38,000 feet, but I still like to look out of the cockpit. And that's what I love about this. I can't think of how many hours flight testing Optica. But it literally is, for me, it's setting the power, setting the trim. You've obviously got to keep your hand close to the stick in case, as you got called out earlier with the wind hits it and it'll give you a little bit of buffer. But I very rarely do I have to put any pressure on the stick. It's purely power and trim.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
This aircraft is beautiful for doing that. It responds so well to it.
Oh, absolutely right. Dreadmoders, yeah, exactly. Understanding the energy management and having that conversation is really interesting. And I remember having somebody talk to me or trying to lecture me about energy management in I think I was playing Ace Combat or Project Wingman at some point, and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I know what it's about, energy management. Like,
Yep.
trust me, I know about energy management when it comes to dogfighting. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
Sten, sadly, unfortunately, for community challenges and challenges from third-party devs that are basically any landing challenge that is not official Microsoft Asobo released, there is no leaderboard. Unfortunately, we can't do that. So I really hope at some point they unlock that API so that we can do that, or at the very least do it with friends. Even if they can't do the world top 10, I really hope they at least unlock the API so we can do a friends one. But yeah, sadly that API is closed. Catalina, like, yeah. So of course, yeah. Orbx just released Catalina. I love Catalina to fly in and out of, because that thing is. I love how it's described as airport in the sky or an aircraft carrier that doesn't move, because it's very true. That approach is fascinating.
Oh, is your video up, Drew? I need to watch that afterwards. I think he's doing a video on it.
He is doing a video on that. There you go. Anyway, folks, so as I said, so the challenge is out there to all of you Optica pilots, whether you have, whether you bought it, whether you've won one of the two tonight. The Pay It Forward challenge is now been laid down. So we'll be publishing a channel in the community Discord there. The competition will run until 8 p.m. next Saturday night. So the challenge is to see if you can, the top score, ideally bonus points if you beat the dev or beat myself. But yeah, top score of the community will win themselves a copy, will win a copy of this to give to whomever they choose. So look really super excited for this one. And Els, I have to say a huge thank you to you for taking the time out of your weekend to join us and answer all these questions from the community.
Is there anything else? I mean, just closing out. Is there anything?
I know there was one. Funny enough, there was a. There was a comment. There was a question that was asked on my Facebook page actually to ask you. Is they said it was very interesting, and I'll couch it. I'll change the language a little bit with how the question was couched. But the question was asked is that the question was asked is that what happened to an Australian-based scenery producer? When is it going to start producing Australian-based scenery again?
It is.
Just
Adelaide.
Yeah, and I sort of went. It was an interesting question. They sort of went, yeah. I think it was more like. Because there was a drought of Australian scenery for a long time from the Orbx, the library. Yeah. So I guess there was a, and of course for those who may not know the history of Orbx, Orbx goes back to, what was it called? What was it called? Voz something?
Oh,
back in the day, it was back in the day. So it's a long there. So we do have some more Australian projects coming.
There is. I think I can't find the announcement right now on the. Where are we? I mean, we've got Brizzy, Adelaide. I mean, they've recent releases, so obviously those ones. In terms of airports, I don't know. We have released on our forums kind of our product. It was called a product roadmap, and it's kind of like this is what we're planning to do. And I do believe there are quite a few Australian things in there.
Okay. I guess it was an interesting discussion about that as well.
I mean, in terms of the airport side, I obviously I'm at product planning meetings because the stuff I do has to coincide with the stuff that other things do. As an example, some of the future projects that I'm working on right now, and one extremely exciting one coming later this year I cannot talk about, there'll be an airport with something else. So as I talked about earlier, certainly within BizDev, is we're looking at what can we do to enhance the simulation experience. So if we can do one product that also works with another product and works with another product, it's not about bundling it. It's about giving that experience to somebody like myself that would want to fly it. And I think that's a lot of people forget that. They might look at Orbx like, oh, you're this big ivory tower somewhere out on the coast of Australia looking over the barrier reef. Well, no, we're not. It's every single one of us are personable. We all do this because we've got a passion for flying or flight sims. We haven't got anybody on a team that is just hired because they're a good modeler. They're interested in what they're making. And I think a lot of devs forget this, is certainly when they're hiring people. Yes, you're good at 3D modeling, but do you know anything about aircraft or airports or whatever it is you're modeling? If you have a passion for it, your product will be a million times better than if you don't have a passion for it.
Yeah, no,
And I
absolutely.
see that in so many developers where they'll just hire somebody because they've got a pretty picture on Turbo Squid or something. And
Yeah.
it's no, you need to have the passion for this. And the people in Orbx absolutely have a passion for this. We're real life people. As you said, this is my weekend, but I enjoy doing this because I'm with your community, and I love talking to you guys, and I love flying with you guys. To me, this is not a promo for Optica. This is a chance for you to ask me questions and give you answers to it.
Mm.
You know, I'm,
And that's a real again something that I feel that a lot of people and that's not just flight. That's not a restriction, an issue just with flight sim. It's also an issue with, unfortunately, sadly, gaming and the internet in general in the 21st century. Is that people seem to forget that there are real human beings behind all the things that you do online, whether it be
yeah,
whether you're flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator, whether you're blowing stuff up in Call of Duty, whether you're doing a bot lane in League of Legends, or whether you're fighting NPCs in World of Warcraft. Like, there are real people that put their heart and soul into what
yeah,
you're playing, um,
yeah. Uh,
and it's sad to see the way some people treat devs. It really is, as one of myself.
yeah. And I think that's the passion. We've just flown around Taipei, and I think the passion from what you see in Taipei
Mm,
is remember that there's a team of people behind this that have done this.
mm,
Thanks, Ben. Ben's obviously at Essendon. How can I forget Essendon? So Essendon is where our office is based. So Essendon will be coming, and there's a few other AU airports in the works as well.
Good, good,
Um,
good.
and I think this is the thing is I get asked this question a lot, and it drives me nuts when people go, "Oh, Orbx are distracting from their core product line because they've released an aircraft now." And I say this without everything. It's a completely separate team.
Mm,
It's a biz dev
yep,
team. We're looking at how we can complement the people we have within our own team and how we can upskill them to be able to do things. And that's forgotten so much
mm,
when it comes to development. And I would say to anybody looking to get into development is give it a go. That's how I started out. I gave it a go, and it's landed me a job. Orbx is my dream job. Working with the team is absolutely amazing,
mm,
and being able to do something like bring aircraft to Microsoft Flight Sim that isn't a core business stream for Orbx is amazing for me. I'm living my dream job right now, but I've worked hard to get to be able to do that.
yep,
And like you, Tristan, you've proven the skills you have are valuable for something else. You started off making aircraft deliveries, you're now doing training
yep,
missions, training
yep,
for pilots and things. And it's, to me, I'm passionate about aviation, and everybody else in Orbx is passionate about the job that they do.
mm,
And it has to be, it doesn't become a job. I love waking up in the morning, and COVID has been really hard for all of us and all of our team and everyone at home.
yep,
But to be able to wake up in the morning, come and sit down on my PC with my cup of coffee, catch up on my emails and catch on my Discord and things, and want to go to work and want to do things on my weekend time is, to me, something that everyone should aspire to get into.
and it's such engagement, and just seeing some of the comments coming through there. Yeah, exactly. It's great when your passion can be your job. I mean, some people sort of say, I remember going for an interview once, people saying, "Oh, are you just going to burn out because this is your passion?" It's like, well, actually, no, because it makes it a joy to work with. And Dread, exactly, when that passion, curiosity is not there, that's where you have problems with people. Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately,
Yep.
and as I said, it's not just about flight simulation as well. I said I talked to this about and streaming and content creation. And sort of going off a bit of a tangent here is I had a conversation at work. We have I have somebody who's there, and great person, and they were sort of like, and they said, and I said, you know, they were starting to stream, and I said, okay, well, why do you stream? It's like, oh, I want to make money out of it. It's like, that's the wrong attitude to have. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not going to work for you. And I remember, and I know Vash, you know that Alex says this a lot on his streams, is that if you're in this to make money, I said you're going to be sorely disappointed. Like, you know, it's like people think that I said you can make a lot of money out of YouTube and whatever. It's like, yeah, no, I don't even make enough money to cover my Adobe bill every month. So it's like,
and that's
yeah,
expensive, that thing.
and that is not cheap at all. That Adobe bin is really not. So
Don't
yeah.
get me started on my 3D Max license cost.
Oh, that is. I must admit, I am incredibly grateful to a colleague who taught me how to like use Blender. I'm like, okay, no, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So that is going to wrap it up. I said thank you very much to for everybody who's joined us throughout tonight in this stream. We've been able to ask the questions and pick the brains of you, Else. And thank you so much for taking the time and joining us and getting to showcase. And thank you so much for sharing your passion and your baby with us and giving away a couple of copies for that.
You're more than welcome. Yeah, we need to do this soon. I think last time was 8 months, so let's do another.
Yeah,
one
let's do it
soon.
like not so long next time. Yeah, let's do
Not
that.
so long next time. Yeah.
Hopefully we might see if we can tee something up for Fly July. I think that would be kind of cool to do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. Just on that, we are going to be doing community fly-ins every weekend on Fly July. So we'll definitely catch up on that.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. All right, so folks, thank you so much everybody for tuning in. For the winners of the tubies, so for Rockview and Razor, I'll get in touch with you in some DMs, and we'll sort out some keys for you and go from there. So. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. Drew's just saying, pass on the thanks to all the Orbx team.
Will do. Well, Ben's in the chat as well, so we'll make sure we definitely do that.
Yeah, no worries. And thank you very much to everybody. And it's also for the members of the Orbx team that joined in to say hello as well. And all of the beta testers that helped out as well. Thank you very much. We are all winners indeed, Dread. We absolutely are. All right, folks. So as I said, that is going to wrap up our stream for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. So we'll be back next week. So we'll be back on Tuesday next week for landing challenges on our Challenge Tuesday. Because of course we have the new sim, we have the world updates. We have a new Asobo challenge to be able to go and deal with. So let's go and deal with that. We might do some bush flights after that. And then of course Cargo Thursdays. We're back for that one on Thursday with Sky Park, and then Saturday we'll be revealing the winner of the third copy of the Optica, and doing some other flying in Sky Park somewhere. So look forward to that. All right, folks. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. Safe skies to all. We're going to be going to say hello to. Who should we go and say hello to? I'm feeling something very, very different. So let's have some GTA roleplay to continue our role. Let's go have a chat to Ziggy. All right, folks. Thanks very much for tuning in. Take care. Safe skies to all. Stick around to say a huge NovaWing24 hello to Ziggy and his purple dinosaurs. Take care, safe skies to all, and we'll see you on the next stream. Bye for now.
Bye.